Arthaus.
I'm with Tiger, and today we have a very special guest. We got Lobo. Lobo is a mastermind on Twitter, a world traveler, a badass, a soothsayer of the female race, and a just a wondrous person to really get to know and talk to and figure out the secrets of life with. So, Lobo, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing good. I'm holding it down in Miami as much as I can. Honestly, my life hasn't really changed that much, besides the fact that I can't lift, I can't train jujitsu, which I'm working away around that now, and there's really nowhere to like go and pick up girls. But me and my friend have decided that on Saturday and Sunday, we're just gonna post up and walk up and down Brickell Ave with our shirts off, drinking, trying to get girls' attention and see what happens. So we're fighting back. I'm not just gonna take this laying down. I gotta do something.
Fighting the system.
You know?
How is the how in Miami? How's like the authorities been? Have they been like really cracking down on anything, or has it been like pretty fairly lax?
It's been chill for the most part. They have all the regulations out, but I think most people here are honestly, they're really just staying inside. Like, they're scared.
Yeah.
Like most people I've interacted with, they're all masked up inside. The streets are empty, so they don't really have to do anything. I've noticed there's not as many homeless people around. That's about it. Which I don't know what's going on with that, but in this area, there used to be a lot of them, and I'm not seeing them anymore.
Yeah, I mean, there's probably not people to give them food and money and stuff, so they're probably like, oh, we gotta find a new place.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So I don't. That's the thing that I worry about a little bit with all this is like we got all these Haitians and Cubans and stuff down here, and in like a couple weeks from now, they're not going to have anything left. So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there's lots. I mean, there's lots of places like that in the bit more cosmopolitan cities, like New York and stuff. Obviously, Miami with the large Chicano population and whatnot. Like there could be some issues popping up.
It could
We
be
don't know.
issues. You know, I've got friends that have wealthy family members in like Latin America, like Colombia,
Hmm.
stuff like that, and they're really worried because in those countries, especially where there's more of a wealth disparity, like as soon
Oh
as
yeah,
people run out of money and run out of supplies, they're going straight to the wealthiest neighborhoods.
right.
You know,
Oh,
so
and that's one of the things I was thinking. Like when you see the guys with like the Globetrotters living in Uruguay and Nicaragua and whatever, and they're riding the current amazing economic wave. I'm just thinking like if there's a downturn and there's any just slight issue with the supply chain and whatnot, the first thing those people are gonna do is rush some white e-commerce dropshipper's mansion and take all of his stuff.
right, immediately. And this is when I'm happy to live in America because
Yeah.
they're keeping our grocery stores stocked. You know, they're keeping the supply chains up right now. So I would be worried about living somewhere with a less stable economy right now because America's going to try to keep things under control as much as they can.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like you get a lot of freedom with third world countries that you don't like. You can just do whatever you want. You can, do amazingly well with the low or no taxes, skirt around the authorities, do all that stuff. But when it comes to the basics and when it comes to like when shit hits the fan stuff, it's really, we should be grateful that we're able to live in first world countries.
Right. Yeah. So I'm appreciative of that right now, you know. But
Yeah.
other than that, it's like I don't really worry about this thing health wise personally.
Hmm.
I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah,
Number
me
one,
either,
'cause I'm in
honestly.
great shape, and then I already told myself like 1,000 times I'm not gonna get sick, and so I'm not
Yeah.
gonna get sick. But
I
I do
mean,
worry that I could lose it is very real that I could lose somebody that I care about that's older or less healthy. That's very
sure.
real. I have a friend that's grandmother's dying right now, so
Oh, geez. Oh,
it's
sorry
very
about that.
possible. But I also really the thing that worries me is the second and third order consequences. Like they're playing
100%.
around with what they can do with martial law, and then what if they mandate vaccines and all these chips? That's the things that I worry about. I'm not really worried about
100%.
my own safety right now.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I'm healthy. I'm 20. Like nothing's really gonna fuck with me in terms of the virus. I'm taking my vitamin C. I'm doing all that stuff, doing what I can. But I think of like my parents. They're in their 60s. Like they're getting older, and then whoever's running this, like they're obviously going to use this for their own personal gain. So we have to be on our toes. Make sure
Right.
nothing, make sure nothing funky happens.
Yeah, can't let a good tragedy go to waste.
Yeah, they're all playing with their psyops and whatnot. So you said that you train jiu-jitsu, right?
Yeah, I've been training for almost 3 years.
Almost
jiu-jitsu. I grew up boxing. I kind of dropped out of boxing because I got really heavy into rugby. I was actually like on the national squad when I was in England. So when I was a little kid, and then when I came back to America, I got really heavy into football. Played football for a year at college before deploying to Iraq, going to the military. And so recently, that's been my thing is jiu-jitsu. And so I train with a first generation Gracie. My teacher, his father is Carlos Gracie. So his name's Hillian Gracie.
Hillian.
A lot of people don't know about him outside jiu-jitsu world.
I've heard about
him. He's not overly like in the front lines, but he trained Roger Gracie. He trains Henzo. He trained Hoist. He's never had his guard. He's never had his guard passed. He's never been submitted. And if you ask around the Gracie family, who's the best Gracies, you'll get answers either Hickson or Hillian. So it's pretty cool.
I was thinking Hickson. Like Hoist obviously has all this pizzazz with his, the UFC debut and whatnot, doing all that stuff. But I mean, just every single one of those family members is an absolute killer.
Yeah, well, the crazy thing is Hoist wasn't the tough one. They sent Hoist for the optics because he was skinny and frail. And they were like, okay, they wanted to show people that you didn't need to be physically superior to beat people. If they really just wanted to crush people, they would have sent Hickson. They may have sent Hoyler at first or something, but Hoist wasn't anywhere near close to being the best jiu-jitsu player in his family. Like, not at all. It's pretty interesting.
I didn't know that. Yeah. So because I'm thinking like Hickson is huge.
Yeah,
he is way bigger than Hoist. So yeah, I could see that.
So the crazy thing is, right, with Hillian Gracie, right? So I knew about Hoist Gracie from the UFC. Okay, so when I first moved to Miami, where my academy is, I lived on the street behind it for like 3 years, right? And when I drove by it every day, I was just like, look at this asshole using Hoist Gracie's name. I was like, I really thought it was just somebody like faking. I didn't know about the Gracie family at all. I thought it was just Hoist Gracie is the guy, and then everybody else is just using his name or whatever. And then I walked in there one day and I was like, wow, I was completely wrong about everything.
Wow, it's an actual. Never judge a book by its cover.
Right, and this is actually side note onto this. If you want to learn anything, you want to get. I call it the law of 10%, which means you're probably only going to be able to duplicate 10% of the success of the person that you learn from. So whenever you learn anything, you want to go to the most successful and the person possible. You want to get as close to the source as possible because your results are going to be better because of that. I think a lot of reasons why people can't make breakthroughs, right, is because they read a self-help book by some guy that has like $10 million, which is cool. But if you duplicate that, by the law of 10%, it's like, okay, then maybe you're going to make $1 million in your life. So I don't read a lot of people, like people that are like basic millionaires. I really don't study them. I study billionaires because they're thinking on a different level. And if you can duplicate 10% of what they're doing, you're onto something. Like if you want to take over your city, study Alexander, study Genghis, study people that conquered the known world. And if you can duplicate 10% of that, then you should be able to run your area. Yeah. So that's how I look at everything. If he wasn't who he was, I wouldn't have trained there. So if you are a guy, because I get this question a lot, guys are always asking me like, should I train martial arts? Should I train Muay Thai? Should I train Jiu-Jitsu? Should I train boxing? I say, find out who is the coach that is the most successful in your area. Not even just his own personal success, but also creating successful students. I was like, go to the person that's the highest quality, and that's the answer for that.
100%. Like if you have I live 25 minutes away from Jocko Willink and Dean Lister's gym.
Oh, so you're on the West Coast, so that's loaded, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and there's loads of MMA fighters in there. There's obviously you got Dean and Jocko are fucking super good, and Navy SEAL and shit. Obviously, like the credentials are there, the skills there, everything is there. It's the premier gym in my area. It's just like did I say 25 minutes?
Yeah, I think it's
Okay,
25.
it's actually like 45. So and then with traffic and shit, like that's
It's
like a
just too
3 hour
far,
commute. Yeah, it's
dude.
just too far to
I'm,
where it's like shit. I want to go here, but it would just wreck the rest of my day.
dude. That's how it is for me. I want to go train at American Top Team, which is like the best MMA
Yeah.
team right now. And
Yeah.
but the only problem is it's like 35 to 40 minutes from me. So it's like it would, and that's with no traffic, and it would just ruin. I wouldn't be able to do anything else. So it sucks. I'm so close to the heart. Like I could go train with these Masvidals and Covingtons and stuff like that, but
Jeez.
I'm not close enough. So sucks.
Have you ever had dreams of, or like, like, have you ever like thought of putting in a plan to like actually go fight for like a Bellator or UFC?
Well, now that I'm in my 30s, like I think I might have some sort of midlife crisis that makes me want to be like, oh, I need to go compete. I feel like if I was afraid to do it, I would definitely do it. I'm not afraid to do it.
Okay.
So that's why I don't really feel like I need to do it. I boxed a lot when I was growing up. I had a lot of competitive boxing matches. I played football. I went to Iraq, and I make money off my brain. So I'm not really trying to get hit in my head right now. Like I was getting punched when I was a little kid. I was banging heads in rugby, banging heads in football, dealing with explosions and stuff like that. Like I'm not trying to mess my head up because I don't produce money off of my body anymore. I produce it off my brain. So I have to be conscious of that. But I do compete in jiu-jitsu.
That's very smart. There's probably like, like I'm very much the same way. Like if I'm going to make money, it's going to be through my brain and what I can do, because I'm not some superstar athlete. So,
right.
But I still have that urge to like just put everything into my body, put everything into the physical, and just go and train and get a fight.
I think everybody should do that. Like, and it doesn't matter what your art is that you train. If you're just boxing, go take a mock boxing match. If you're doing jiu-jitsu, go to your jiu-jitsu tournaments, because I do compete in jiu-jitsu, and I will continue to do that. I'm not going to stop that. So,
well, because that's from what I can see, like jiu-jitsu obviously is not easy, but it's the pace is slower than
it's low impact. You can go to a tournament, have 6 matches, walk away uninjured, ready to train the next day. So it's low risk unless you just don't know how to tap or you do something stupid.
Now, do you think that, obviously you say you go to the gym too, do you think that that lifting and calisthenics and all that stuff, do you think that affects training positively, or do you think like it's kind of like if you can do it, it's cool, but you don't really need it?
I think that from my own personal experience, my body breaks down training martial arts every day more if I'm not lifting. When I'm lifting, I break down less. I get injuries less. Little nicks and bumps, I seem to get them less when I'm lifting every day and maintaining my strength. I think it's definitely important. Obviously, when you're doing martial arts, it's not going to be about getting bigger, because getting bigger doesn't really help you.
No.
Especially in martial arts specifically, because combat sports are the only sports where the athletes are trying to look smaller than they are. Right? So like, I used to think that like, I'd be fighting like John Jones, like 205 or something like that, because it's like my body weight. But in reality, if I was going to fight, I might be like a 165 pounder.
Yeah.
I would be cutting to, so
you might be a welterweight or something like that.
Yeah. Combat is the only sport where people are trying to get smaller. So for me, I'm not trying to get bigger right now, because it would just make me have to go against athletes that are cutting down to be at my max weight.
Yeah.
And
plus being bigger, like if you don't have the frame for it, I bet there's just mobility issues, and there's like, your cardio will get slowly worse. The heavier if you're just trying to pack on mass without like any care for mobility or anything like that.
Right. And and then for martial arts too, what makes you a lot better is the efficiency with which you use your technique. Not necessarily like how strong you are. It's how efficient your movements are. The efficiency of your movements makes them more powerful, and it makes them less tiring.
Right. Well, yeah. When I started boxing a couple months ago, like I used to do Tang Sudo as a kid, and like obviously traditional martial arts, not really real. They don't really
Yeah.
transfer over. So when I started boxing, like the instructor just kept coming over, the coach, and he was just like, you gotta stop throwing, you gotta stop pushing your muscle, and you gotta start throwing your bones.
Mm.
And so that changed my mindset completely, because it's not about having massive jacked biceps and triceps and pushing your your muscles through the air and trying to wrangle off some dude's head. It's about flicking your arm forward. In conjunction with proper foot position, proper proper
Hip
torque,
rotation, shoulder
all
rotation,
that
it's everything.
all that stuff. It's a synchronous movement. It's a dance throughout the whole body. It's not just pushing the arm forward or pushing the leg forward.
Now, I would say a lot of those movements can be trained and improved upon in the gym, though. So, like,
yes,
say for instance, like exercise I do a lot is a Turkish get up. It mimics a tactical stand up in martial arts. That's just one example. But there's a lot of different little if you do like functional workouts tend to transfer to sports.
Mm-hmm.
When you're doing things that involve like unilateral movement where you're just using one arm or one leg, those are the type of things that really transfer to athleticism, as opposed to like static movements where you're just standing still and just moving a weight in one plane of motion. There's 3 planes of motion, and most of our activities are happening in the transverse plane, which is a rotational plane, but that's the one that we actually work out in the least. Most of our exercises are in the sagittal plane, like squats, lunges, presses, things like that. We don't do a lot of rotation, and we don't do a lot of the frontal plane, which is your lateral movements. When, say, like a shoulder raise where the weights are moving away from you, or anything that's moving to your left or right is in the frontal plane. So the thing is with the gym is most guys are just training in one plane of motion, but athleticism happens in multiple planes. So you have to train every plane.
Right. That's a good way of thinking about it. Not in terms of movements, not in terms of exercises even, but just in terms of planes.
And
am I working?
So when I work out, I don't follow a specific program anymore, because I just learned enough over the year and understand my body that I just work out intuitively. But when I'm looking at workouts, I don't have like a chest day or a back day or anything like that. I don't even have a leg day, because I look at everything by the movement patterns. So it's either a push, a pull, a hinge, rotation, a squat, a lunge, or a primal pattern, which are patterns on the ground. So pushes there's 2 types of pushes. There's horizontal and there's vertical. So when I look at it, I'm like, okay, if I did horizontal press today, that means that I'm doing bench. If I'm doing vertical press, I'm doing overhead press. Then I'd be like, okay, I'm going to superset that with a pull, right? If I'm doing a vertical push, right, like an overhead press, then I'll probably superset that with a horizontal pull. So maybe like a seated row. That's how I look at my movements. And the hinge is any sort of deadlift movement. I might add that to my press movements. Some people do it with their pulling movements. I like to do it with my pressing movements, because hinging is a way of pulling as well. Now look at squats, lunges, and primal patterns. So when I go into the gym, I'm like, okay, which movement do I want to work on? Do I want to work on pushing, hinging, squatting, lunging? And then I think about what plane of motion I want to do these exercises in. Then I start thinking about equipment that I want to use. And I also think about base of support. Do I want to be on one leg? Do I want to be on something stable? Do I want to be on something unstable? There's just a lot of things that go into it. But I think it's a much more functional way of looking at exercises than just going in and be like, I'm doing chest today. Because at the end of the day, like, you go in and do chest all day, but all you're doing is horizontal abduction. It's the same movement over and over and over and over again. If you go to seated row, it's just a horizontal row, bro. It doesn't matter how many times you change the attachment that you're rowing with.
At the end of the day, you're still just doing the same pattern.
Yeah, you're doing the same pattern over and over again. So I think people don't understand that.
Have you seen functional patterns?
Yes, I know what functional patterns.
Yeah. Like that guy talks about the rotational plane. He talks about throwing and the rotational plane all the time. Those are like the 2 key parts of human movement that we just don't focus on. And athleticism, that's super
The
key.
rotational plane is so important, and it's so easy to get movements into to change your movements a little bit to make them go into a rotational plane. Like instead of doing like just a single arm dumbbell press, like twist when you press it. Now it goes from being something that was just in the sagittal plane to being a transverse plane movement just by the act of turning while you press.
And what would that turning do to the motion, like in terms of the benefit?
Okay, so you're going to be getting more core stability, more shoulder stability. Usually when you're working the transverse plane, what's going to happen is your core is going to activate more. Because your core is an anti-rotation machine. It wants to stop you from twisting and bending. That's how you protect your spine.
Right.
So when you're putting weighted rotation on, your core has to tighten to slow the rotation and maintain like spinal integrity. So
that's very key.
When you get into rotational movements, and sometimes a rotational movement could be something as simple as a bear crawl. Because when you're on one hand and one foot, your body wants to rotate.
Right.
But you're bracing it with your core.
Gotcha.
So
wow, right there. That just opened up a new paradigm in my training.
Yeah,
I'm gonna be thinking about that today when I'm doing my calisthenics inside.
Yeah, that's how. And not a lot you can do right now. It's weird because I'm actually exercising more than I was now, but I'm not I'm not training as hard as I was, but I'm exercising more because there's just not a lot to do, and I'm just finding myself every 20 minutes or so playing around with a kettlebell or a mace or some bands. Like it happens like every
doing something. Getting all fidgety, and you're like, oh shit, gotta go move something heavy.
I gotta do something. And that's the thing too. For me, whenever I feel my stress levels rise in any sort of situation, it's an immediate sign for me to react with something positive. Like either that's exercising, breathing, stretching, going outside, doesn't matter what it is. I just don't let myself fall into like perpetual high cortisol states that just keep flowing and flowing and flowing and making you ruining your fucking day. So
that's an interesting thing to let's transition into that. Like, do you think that have you probably lived in places that are very low stress and very high stress, right? In terms of like the work environment and whatnot. And you definitely notice the physiological effects of long-term stress.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'm a little different because I've been in a lot of really, really bad situations.
Sure.
Being in Iraq, I've lived in my car. I've had crazy stuff happen to me, right? So I don't really get too stressed out of anything. But you have to be careful. You have to be really careful with becoming desensitized to stuff, because I also have a thing where if you put a situation in front of me that's supposed to make me panic and it's supposed to make me react, I might not react. Like I may be like, oh, you have a deadline, you have to do this thing. Like every other person might panic from it and be like, oh, I absolutely have to do this. But if you've been through so much shit, you might just be like, who gives a fuck? Who cares? So you have to be really careful with it. But in terms of like overall happiness, I'm definitely more happy when I'm in nature, when I'm outside, and when there's elevation. That's the only thing I don't actually like about Miami, and what's going to make me leave is that it's flat. There's just something mentally and spiritually refreshing at standing at the top of a mountain, and just seeing
very, very interesting.
The horizon. We were built to look at horizons and stare out. We have stereo vision for a reason. We are fucking ourselves up by constantly taking our eyes and focusing on these small things like our phone. Like that is not how we were built. We're supposed to be able to look out into the environment and take in just tons of information and feedback. Like I'm standing on my balcony right now. Like I should be able to notice like the animals in the trees down there and what's moving around, but we're just not trained to look at life like that anymore. We focus in on one thing, and the crazy thing is when you don't look at anything specifically, you see everything at the same time.
That's very key. Yeah, we weren't made to just be bent over and looking at little glowing screens. We're meant to be like
heads up, surveying the land.
So
I think that's why nature is so relaxing. It's because like, man, it's just like it makes the eye healthier.
It makes everything healthier, especially I've seen you talk about it too, like grounding, just walking barefoot on a trail in some grass. Like that is one of the best things you could be doing for yourself. It's free too. It's free.
It's free, and it's an instant mood changer. That's the thing.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes don't realize how quick they are to getting a state change.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not hard to change your state. You just have to do something. You just can't be still.
Yeah. Like, I'm thinking, like, every time I get kind of down, you know, not like depressed. I've never been depressed, but like every time I get kind of down, like I didn't make a sale that day, and like, you know, my workout was shit, and I'm like, you know, whatever little issues that day kind of compounded. Like, if I see something funny, instantly I'm just like, haha, and then I just get out of that state. Or, you know, I get a call from someone I've, you know, like an old friend or something like that. My state will change immediately.
That's actually one of my keys to happiness is talking to people that you care about all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of my habits every day is to call a friend or a family member and talk to them. And it's not always a long conversation. So sometimes I just call them and tell them that I'm thinking about them and just catch up with them real quick. But I tweeted this the other day, but at the end of the day in life, you can only have relationships and experiences. You know, you can't really have things. You can possess things, but that is nothing. It's not real.
Quintus Curtius, do you know him?
Yes.
Yeah, he said.
OG.
He made a great tweet, and he said, I'm gonna butcher it, but you'll get the gist. Where it's like in this lifetime, like, we do not own the things. We're merely like caretakers for what they are, and we should just let them. We shouldn't get too attached to them. We should treat them well, and when we pass, they're gonna be there for the next lifetime.
Yeah, that reminds me of the quote that's attributed to Alexander the Great, where he basically says, when I die, bury me. Don't build any monument. Leave my hands open so that people can see the one who won the world died with nothing in hand. And I was like, okay, that's pretty powerful.
That's,
if Alexander the Great, who won and conquered the known world, is telling you that when you die, you can't take it with you. It doesn't really matter. That should tell you something. So my focus in life is on relationships and experiences, and relationships in themselves are an experience. You know, I think when I've gotten to a certain point in life, like I said, going through so many different things, that things that happen to me are inconsequential at this point. I'm not really worried about my own safety or my own well-being. I think I'll be all right. And if I'm not, I know for a fact that I can deal with anything that comes my way. But I can't say the same thing for everybody that I care about. You know, I'm worried about them all the time. Those are the people that my focus is on and trying to protect now. I'm past like worrying about myself.
Yeah, because you know you feel secure now. You know that graph where it's like unconscious competence, conscious, whatever. There's like the four quadrants. You're so set in your own life. You're so set with that the only thing you can do now to make life engaging, interesting, meaningful is to focus on others and make sure everyone else is good.
Right. You know, like, especially right now, like, I can survive for years. I don't need the economy to really do anything, you know? But I have friends that have lost their jobs, you know? Like, one of my friends had to move back home with his parents and stuff. So, like, for me right now, like, I'm like, all right, trying to pick this guy up, you know, trying to get him focused and help him come up with a plan for the thing he can do next. Right. That's all I really care about. You know, the things that happen to other people is what scares me.
Yeah.
Not really me.
And that's there's a certain kind of, and I'm not at that stage yet. There's a certain kind of benefit to that, like a luxury where you don't have to focus on yourself. You're so set. But at the same time, like, when you're able to double down on others, like, I don't want to say life gets harder, but life definitely, like, because they're not in your total control, you have to really, like, you have to realize that even though you might do everything right, they still might not listen and they still might collapse.
Yeah, this took me years to understand, because a lot of the time you want people to change harder than they want to change. And when they don't do something that is a necessity for them, you can find yourself getting more upset about the fact that they didn't do it than they are. And that's what happens when you're letting your ego get involved in things. I learned over the years that some people, look, not everybody's going to be like me, right? Like, I have friends that I grew up with that they're maybe not as intelligent or not as woke with girls or something, right? But they're still important to me. They have access to memories of me that I can't and experiences and feelings that I can't access alone.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I don't need them to be on my level with everything.
Right.
You know, and I don't need to try to red pill or wake them up about everything. Sometimes you have to decide like what really matters with this person. Like some people, I just care that we maintain our relationship more than anything else.
Yeah, and that's what, like, one of the things is that, like, you see all the time on Twitter where it's like, people that aren't on your level, cut them out of your life.
Cut them off.
Never. And I'm just saying, like, no, like, there's a middle ground, right?
There's
like,
a middle ground.
Like, obviously, if somebody, like, I have some friends, right, from high school and whatnot, they're great. Like, they don't fit the archetype of what you want to talk about on Twitter, where it's like any loser is just going to bring you down, right? They're super supportive of what I'm doing. Every time I get a win in business, they're like super, super happy for it. Always down to like talk about it and whatnot. But they themselves, like they have no aspirations whatsoever to do that. Absolutely no aspirations. And they just want like the normal, stable life. But they cheer on my wins every single time. And it seems like on Twitter, obviously the platform isn't built for nuance, but it's like if there's anybody that's not on your level or above, like you just need to cut them out immediately. They have no value. You'll never get anything from them, and you're just wasting your time even considering putting mental energy towards them.
Yeah, no, that is one of the most bullshit things I've heard on there. Because at the end of the day, too, it's like, how are they even holding you back? If
you hold yourself back.
You hold yourself back. They can't stop you from doing anything. You know, I always go by the mantra is that you should spend about 33% of your time with people below your level, about 33% of your time with people on your level, and about 33% of the time people above your level.
Mm-hmm.
So my people above my level, those are my mentors. Those are the people that are 10 years older or 10 years more successful than me.
Yeah.
I spend time with them. Then I spend time with my peers, my business partners, my real guy friends, the guys that I can go out and pick up girls with are like your best friends, I think. So like then I spend time with people that maybe I left behind. Maybe they're younger than me and I'm trying to teach them something. And honestly, just like I learned a lot about being great and being successful from the people above me, but I end up learning a lot about being happy from the people below me.
Yeah.
Because they're happy and content with the most simple things.
Right.
You know, like
we have these massive goals to conquer the world, date all these women, blah blah blah. But then you just see them and they're like the smallest pleasure, something for you is casual, they're rejoicing about, and you're like, wow.
Right. Like on a Friday night, like I'm tweaking out, like, all right, what do I got to do? I got to go out. I got to try to get girls. I got to do this. This is something to do. Where's everybody at? You know, and I got some friends that like their Friday night is they're at home chilling, watching a movie with their family, and they love it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they're not having that same feeling I am. I'm over here living in Miami, high rise, living the lifestyle, freaking out, and they're at home doing nothing, chilling, happy. You know, so that's why I say there's a ignorance can be bliss. You know, it's the whole dimwit, midwit, topwit thing. It's like the dimwits they're just so focused on what's in front of them that they don't really think about anything else. And I think that's what makes you successful too, is you have to have the people who are most effective, like who are happiest or who are most successful, I find they just have like single-minded purpose. They don't let their mind divert from the thing that's in front of them that they need to do.
Well, you know that there's that meme where it's like like the low IQ, it's like God is real, and then there's the middle section where it's like the midwit, and they're like, actually God, he's the part of particle, blah 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 blah, and then and then high IQ, it's God is real.
Right. It's like God is real, then it's like God is not real, then it's like God can't be proven to be real or fake. Then it's like it doesn't matter if God is real or fake because the world would operate better under religious values, and then it's like God is real. You know, so it's like yeah, so that's what it is. And so I don't agree with the cut everybody off. I mean, obviously some people, again, it's about you have to be able to read nuance in every situation. There's no black and white. Like I get something out of these people.
Mm-hmm.
They make me forget about things that I'm worried about or that I think are important. So that there is an exchange of value going on.
They could bring you back down to earth too.
Right.
It can be like, oh shit, like I am just like sometimes I'll get way too deep into the Twitter and the red pill and the esoteric, and I think like all this like high end stuff is the only thing that matters and whatnot. And then like I'll just get a call and be like, hey, want to go get some food? I'll be like, oh yeah.
You know, and that's how it is. Like when I hang around with my family, like my family does not think about the things I think about. They don't talk about the things I think about. And like if I even try to bring it up, they just look at me like, dude, you're weird. Like, and all they do is crack jokes all the time. They don't care about any of that stuff. And it takes me out of my, because at first I'll be like, oh man, don't these guys know that like so many people listen to everything I say, like they have to listen to me too. And so like, but they just don't care, you know? And then I remember when I'm with them that, you know, fuck it, like it doesn't really matter. And this is something that this brings me to another point of something that's been bothering me recently, is like noticing how combative people are with like their family and their parents and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like it's pretty crazy to me. It's like, wait, so because I used to argue with my parents a lot, right, growing up. Like I had very tumultuous relationships with them because I always was like, oh, I'm not gonna let them get away with anything. Like you can't disrespect me, you can't treat me bad, none of that, right? And I think that's how a lot of teens and young men or young kids have about their parents. They don't want to be controlled. But then I realized, I was like, wow, so like the people that raised you and that you can the only people you know actually love you and care about you. If they do something that you don't like, you reprimand them all the time. But if you go to work and your boss starts talking shit, you don't say shit to him. Some girl fucking ignores your text, you keep texting her. You let all these other people, some guy in the grocery store just bumped into you in line. You didn't say anything. It's like you're going to let all these people in the world walk all over you, do whatever they want to you. But if your parents say one thing, you got to put them in their place. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Right you know, and the same thing with family. It's just not worth the argument. It's like, what do you want? You know, like, it's not worth it. Like, the worst thing for me in my life that could happen to me is that I get into an argument with my parents, don't talk to them for like a month, and then get a phone call that one of them's dead. That would be the worst possible thing that could happen to me. So I avoid that at all costs. You know, I don't try to correct my parents. I honestly believe I'm smarter than them and I know more about the world, straight up. But I don't try to correct them and stuff because it's not important to me to establish any sort of superiority with them. I just care about them.
Yeah, like they have their own world. You can like kind of like subtly bring stuff up if you think it's worth it, but you don't push it at all. And you just
push it. And I don't blame them for not believing in the things that I believe in or caring about the things that I care about. I don't blame them. And at the end of the day, they're happier than me. So it doesn't matter. You know, like,
they're outcome independent, you know?
Yeah, so exactly. So, you know, that bothers me recently. And I see it all the time too. It's something simple. Like I'll meet girls or guys and like they'll have a brother or a sister that's like the same age as them. And I'll be like, are you cool with your brother? Like you guys friends close? And it's like not close with their siblings at all. And I'm like, dude, this is the wackest thing. It's like I grew up as an only child for most of my life. Like I would have loved to have a brother in arms. Like you literally have a life partner to go through things with you. Like you guys have the same DNA. Like I don't understand how you guys can come to disliking each other. Actually, that's one thing I actually really like about the Tate brothers. They're one of the first people I ever seen be brothers the right way.
Right. Well, they're actually like together, conquering shit together.
Right.
Same
that
goals.
Makes right. The most successful of my friends that just work from like the bottom up are a pair of twins that I went to high school with. Massively successful because every single thing they've done it together. And they didn't do anything fancy. They started bagging or they started working as busboys when they were 16. Both of them worked the same jobs. Both of them put all their money in an account, saved it all. Then they went to the military at the same time, got a signing bonus, saved their signing bonus together. Then they deployed together, took all their money, came back, had hundreds of thousands of dollars in the bank, bought multiple houses. They live next door to each other, and they're just buying houses, doing things. And it's like, it's crazy because their bond of them being together made them unstoppable.
And that bond is super powerful because if you have another person to watch your back and to check you to make sure like no bullshit's happening, you will not get distracted by women, a bad job, something, something. You won't go down a stupid rabbit hole because you'll always have somebody like, hey, watch yourself, don't do that shit.
Yeah, and this is just more of like, it's just this whole this whole breakdown of family is really been the thing that's been on my mind recently. And especially with just like the culture that we live in, where it's like you're supposed to be this internet hustler that like moves around the world and does all these things. Like it's actually not normal to be away from your family like all the time and like to want to just leave and not be around them. Like, or I see this all the time with women. Like I'm dating a girl right now and she wants to move out of her house. She lives with her mom and her grandfather. I was like, why would you leave the people you care about just so you can go pay bills? Like, don't fall for the Sex in the City meme. Like, that's not going to make you happy. Like, if you're a woman, like, you should be moving out when you're getting into a serious relationship or getting married or something.
Yeah.
Like, stay home. Why wouldn't you?
I think anyone, like, I'm still living with my parents right now. Like, I'm in my room.
Yeah, it's like, so, you know, the only thing is the world judges men differently than they do for women. But at the end of the day, it's like, if you're making smart decisions and like anybody living out, if you're a guy right now and you live at home with your parents, like, I need you to be rich by the end of next year, because like you're basically getting the freest come up that there is.
Yeah.
You know, like this is actually what would make you, it's actually easier to be successful if you don't jump into the fire so fast.
Right. Although the one thing I'll say too is that like having that fire underneath you can really kick somebody in high gear. Although it's like objectively it's harder, right? Having like the loss, like, oh yeah, I can't pay bills if I don't do this. That might incite somebody to try a bit harder.
Right. And you know, it's good that we can say that both things are true to let people decide what they want to do. Mm-hmm. Because for me, right, when I first moved down to Miami, my dad and my mom sat there when I got rid of my apartment. They were like, come home, save money for a couple years, then go to Miami. But I was so determined. Like, I was like, no. I drove down in the middle of a blizzard. You know what I mean? And it's like, I had hard ass times, like living in my car, not being able to find a place, not being able to find jobs, having no money, things like that. And eventually I made it through, but like 3 or 4 years later. And it's like, well, maybe if I had just did the 2-year plan like they had, then who knows? But at the same time, I wouldn't know what I'm capable of.
Right. Like it's a double-edged sword, definitely.
It's a double-edged sword. For men, it's like, well, I think the natural state of man is to adventure out like a man. Mm-hmm. I think women should be a little different. Like, I think if you're a woman, like trying to travel all across the world and do all that stuff is kind of silly. Like, stay around your family, be happy, don't fall for the Sex in the City meme.
I think a lot of trauma can come from that.
I think it is, and I'm just starting to see it, right? Like, because there were girls that I dated when I was, say, 22 that were the same age as me, and I was dating them then. But now that I'm 30 and they're 30, like, they're still just in their apartment in Miami with no kids, no nothing, and all they have is a job and shoes, and it's sad. It's getting sad now, you know? And so, like, I'm seeing this happen. Like, I don't think we understand the ramifications of everything yet, because the generation that really is getting broken down is starting to come into adulthood now, to where they would be having families and things like that, but they're not. You know, there's a bunch of 30 to 40-year-old women around here just sitting in their condos with nothing. And
there's gotta be
in like 10 years, in like 10 years, they're really gonna regret that decision, no matter what. You know,
there's gotta be a mass healing of this country.
There has to be. And I tweeted out the other day, I was like, women have figured out that they don't necessarily need man's direct help to survive. Like, they can make money, but they need men to be happy, and they haven't figured this out yet. Mm-hmm. Like, the thing that's gonna make a woman happiest is having a man that she views as a high value male and having kids with him. That'll make her happiest.
What is it called? Like the eros, like the relatability, the relation factor of a woman. They rely on, you know, others for the feedback and whatnot.
Yeah, I'm not too familiar with that, but yeah.
I think that maybe I used the wrong term, but like the feedback for a woman is much. They need obviously the validation and whatnot. They need the other person kind of.
Yeah, they need that social stimulant. Like, see, the thing is, and this is why like, all right, when I talk to guys about game and things like that, like, go out there and risk it. Don't settle down until you're at least 35 and you've been through a certain amount of chicks and things like that, because I'm not afraid of a dude ending up as a hermit. I think men can handle it. I don't think that's a sad existence. I think a woman ending up as a hermit is pretty fucking sad.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
You know? Whereas like a dude can handle it. There's guys that are basically living hermit mode already.
Right.
You know? Right. So like it shouldn't be a real fear for them. And at the end of the day, like, if you're a man, your dating shelf life is just so much longer. Mm-hmm. Especially if you have money. Like, you'd be 45 years old have money, go on hormone replacement therapy, reverse age by 10 years, and just go around the world picking up chicks. So it's not really too dangerous for a guy to take these risks.
You could be, until your dick stops working, there's always a way.
Right, and then there's something for that too. So it's like you're always in the game.
You're always in the game, at least on some level.
At some level, you're always in the game, or the game's going to be there for you. And if you can't play the game right now because of whatever, you're not in shape or you're broke or whatever, then just grind up because you got time.
Yeah, you can get in the game. There's always a way to get in the game. That's the thing. Like, a lot of guys right now, they're like, I saw a picture, and this sparked a weird idea for me. Like, there's that picture of like a Reddit meetup or something. It was like Reddit incels or something like that. Like, that was the sub. And they took a group photo, and I looked, and I was like, half these guys, just based on face and like their body type, like, they're not bad looking. They just need to work out, get a haircut, and they would be like, no joke, they would be like an 8.
Yeah, I think that's so much neglect.
But like, they just don't. If they just worked out and ate right for a year, just 1 year, like, their whole life would get way better.
That's what I tell dudes. Number one changes you can make in your life are stop jerking off and start working out.
Yep.
That's the number one change any modern man can make right now. If you do that, everything else will start falling in line. You'll want to make money. You'll be more attractive to people. Everything.
I was addicted to that as all throughout high school. Addicted. 4 times a day wanking.
Same, but I didn't know it was anything wrong with it.
No, and I looked it up, and it's like, it's healthy. And I'm like, why do I feel like shit all the time? Oh, I'm horny again. Time to go jack it off immediately. And then I just stopped doing it, and I just realized, like, whoa.
I had my major porn awakening like 3 or 4 years ago, right? Where I had 2 girls texting me that wanted to come over, and I was in my mind thinking if I would just rather jerk off. And I decided I'd rather jerk off. And I was just like, whoa, this is fucked up, because I felt like shit afterwards. And I was like, dude, it's not about wanting to have sex. There's something else going on play here, because I can have sex right now. So it ain't about that. I don't think every time you get horny, it's a call to have sex either.
No.
I really don't think it is. I think it's sometimes a call to do something else, because I've had bouts of horniness and then call a girl, and when she gets there, I'm not horny anymore. So it's like sometimes I think these moments just arise, and you got to just power through them and use that energy to do something else. But yeah, once I realized that, like, yo, like, what the fuck? Like, I just turned down like girls to just stay home and jerk like that. That was when I was like, all right, something's wrong here, and that's when I started looking into it.
Like, my girl lives like 15 minutes from me, so there's like a small gap of time. So sometimes, like, I will enter that state, but I just won't bring it up, and I'll just channel into something, because I'm like, I'm just gonna use this, because it is a powerful energy. Like, I'm just gonna use this and push it into somewhere else.
Right, and you know what it is too? With some of these habits like this, a lot of your habits are trigger based. So like, you're doing something, like if you're a guy, you jerk off, now you can't stop. You're doing something before you look at porn every single time. Something sparks you. It might be swiping. Dude, this is what happens. I noticed when I used to be on dating apps and swipe on Tinder, I would have stronger urges to look at porn or do things, because you're checking out girls. If you go out checking out girls hardcore, like on Instagram and Tinder and stuff like that, you're going to be more susceptible to jerking off. Sometimes it can be as simple. I realized that whenever I lay down in my bed during the middle of the day, I would do it. So I was like, okay, don't fucking lay down.
Yeah, that's key right there. Yeah, because you get into this state, you get comfortable, and then you're like, oh, I'm just going to do it.
Right. So like, and the thing is, all our bad habits have some sort of trigger like this for the most part. Right. So like, if you're struggling with something, figure out what it is that you're doing every time you decide that you're going to go through with a bad habit, because whatever you're doing at that moment is probably your trigger.
Very interesting.
That's putting you in that state.
That's exactly. Yeah. I mean, when you break it down, human nature is just programming. It's programming. It's a bunch of A/B decisions, one after another, and you have to get those in line.
Yeah. Hell yeah, dude. And if you want to know how to build any habit, Well, Atomic Habits is the best overall habit book for like figuring out how to break a habit and just understanding what a habit is, how it works, and how your brain makes habits, and how your brain gets rid of them. But if you just want to learn how to build a habit, there's a book called Mini Habits, and that's the single best book or advice you can get for starting a habit. And the whole concept of it is, instead of trying to say you have a goal of reading for an hour a day, right? Instead of actually trying to read for an hour a day, like make your goal something small, like 1 page. And then when you finish that page, you decide how much you want to read. Because the whole point is to build the habitual pattern of picking up and opening a book.
Yeah. Right.
It doesn't matter. You see, the thing is, when we start new habits, we're concerned about, like, we want to do high volume immediately. We think about the volume in the moment, but not the volume over time. Right? So like, someone will be like, okay, I want to read for an hour a day. But it's like, you'd be better off reading for 20 minutes a day, but doing it every day instead of trying to read for a day and doing it twice in the week.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Like breaking it up over a longer period of time. Definitely.
Right. Like, it's more important. It's like, do you want to have the habit of reading an hour a day, or do you want to have the habit of reading every day?
Right.
Because that's more important. Right. Like, and I don't think sometimes people don't understand how powerful it is to miss a day. When I used to train people, right, and I do assessments on them, and I'll talk to them about their diet, right, and I'd be like, okay, like, how often do you drink, right, and they'll be like, oh, like, not that much, just on the weekends.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so you drink a third of the time. You drink 100 days a year. 3 months out of the year, you're drunk.
Right.
They don't add it like that. Those little 2 days, those little weekends, those count.
Yeah, those stack up.
They stack up. The weekend is like 100 days a year.
Stacking up long term. That could just, yeah, and then they wonder why their health is so bad. And then imagine that, but in every domain of their life.
Right. And it's like, so when you have these habits and you're not consistent, and you think that like little 1 or 2 day doesn't make a difference, it does. Especially if you take it to the third day, now the half the time you didn't do it.
Oh, and I have heard a similar concept. Like for us, a hobby from TriStar Gym.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, don't do your max pull-ups as much as you can, and then you'll just get burned out. Do like half as much, but do them every day. And then that way you'll do more pull-ups by the end of the week, and you'll be better.
It's such a better method. It's such a better method for getting things done and just building that habitual pattern, because a lot of the stuff is just like the initial resistance.
Yeah.
Like in the book Mini Habits, they talk about one way that he got this guy who couldn't work out. Like the guy was like, I want to work out, but he just couldn't bring himself to do it. What he did, he was like, okay, every day just change into your workout clothes. Until the guy, so for some people, that'll be enough to make you work out. Just changing your clothes into your workout clothes will be like, oh, well, I'm changed now, so I have to go. Right. But that guy, it didn't work for him. So he went from like a week of just changing into his workout clothes to the guy was like, okay, next week, change into your workout clothes, drive to the gym. And so the guy would change into his workout clothes, drive to the gym every week and just sit outside. And the next step for him, he was like, okay, now next time, just go inside the gym. Boom. And you keep building it. And the thing is, people want to do it fast. They're not thinking about the long-term effects of like, hey, you're trying to build a habit that's going to last you for the rest of your life. And it's a habit when you feel weird if you don't do it.
I think ego comes in play too, especially with young guys. Like we want to hit we want to start with 200 push-ups a day, and like if we don't, we're pussy, right?
Right.
But maybe we don't have like our chest muscles are not developed to the point where that is sustainable. Maybe we can only do 50, and that's good. And next time it's 55. But we just want to start hardcore, and then we get into it, we fail, and then we burn out because everything we're trying to do is hardcore max level, and then we get into that, and then we're not ready yet.
This is the problem. Because what happens is once you fail on one day, you start feeling bad about yourself. It demotivates you for the next day. Now there's 2 days in a row. And now you're really starting to be like, oh man, like I suck. And now you're really starting to beat yourself up, and you start that same negative feedback loop all over again.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I'm like, man, stop trying to fix everything. Pick one habit that you want to build. Pick one bad habit that you want to break. Every day, focus on those. Do that for a year until they're gone, until they're nothing. Then move on to the next one.
Yeah.
You're going to get more done over time that way.
Isn't it like 28 days, 21 days to build a habit, something like that?
It's 67. That's what
67.
they say. Now, that's what they say to be safe. It honestly, it depends on the habit, depends on you.
Right.
But
if it's addicting and you love it, then it can be a lot quicker.
Right. It's easier. Like, it didn't take me. I instantly, from the first day I trained jiu-jitsu, I started training 5 to 6 days a week immediately. It was not hard for me to build that habit. Right. So it depends on what the habit is, but 67 days is usually like a good marker. And I think you should always just set the long marker anyways. I would say 90 days, do 90 days of everything at least.
Mm-hmm. And then maybe, and then it's kind of like goal setting where you don't want to aim to make $1 million. You want to aim to make 10 million. And if you only make 3, you still made $3 million.
Right. Exactly. So yeah, it's like you got to just plug away with it for as long as it takes. And it's not going to be glamorous because sometimes the thing is, like you were saying before, like if we don't see our actions as glorious, we might not do them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and so yeah, it may not seem glamorous and that may demotivate you, but that's not the way to go about it. You have to just understand that how important something is to your overall vision and goals and purpose. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from, is like you have to really sit down and hammer out and figure out like what you believe about life. Like a huge process for me for finding myself was every day, the first day what I did was I wrote down all the character traits that were valuable to me. Honor, integrity, discipline, courage, right? Then for like the next few months, I would take one of those words and I would flesh it out. I'd be like, okay, what does discipline mean to me? Okay. And I write about what does discipline mean to me? And I'd be like, okay, what would my life look like as discipline? What does a disciplined life look like for me? And I write it all down. It's like, what can I do to be more disciplined? And I write it all down. And I get a clear concept because I put my values out there. That's who I want to be. Then I've defined my values to myself. And then I've shown myself what I need to do to be the person that I want to be. And
I find that spending the time to write things out like that, once they're written out, it's like a puzzle piece lights up in your mind and becomes permanent. Like once you write out what discipline is, once you write out what courage looks like, it's forever there in your mind.
Writing is the first step to physical manifestation.
Yeah.
It's the first step of taking your thoughts out of your brain and bringing them into the real world in a physical capacity.
And do you find that like handwriting is much more effective than computer writing?
I find handwriting is more effective than computer writing. I find real books are more effective than ebooks and audiobooks.
I've noticed that too. I lose focus way quicker on an ebook than I do on a real book.
There's just something about sitting down with some paper in your hand that is different. It's not the same. It doesn't feel the same at all.
It isn't the same. Like I have some great old texts that I downloaded as PDFs on my computer, and there's such good books like Teddy Roosevelt's autobiography, some like old esoteric health books from like the early 1900s, but I can only read a couple pages, and then I'm like, all right, I can't look at this screen anymore. I have to go read something else.
Yeah, it's not operable. I think everything now people are like, oh, you can enter faster on a keyboard and things like that. Again, my life ain't about speed, bro. I'm gonna be here for hopefully the next 40, 50 years, right? So like I'm more concerned about just getting the best work done every day.
Right.
You know, I'm not in a race. I'm not in a race against myself to get anything done. I don't need everything. Everybody gets too caught up in this hyper efficiency.
I think I tweeted out the other day, optimization it leads to totalitarianism, because I think when you're so focused on optimizing and if making everything efficient and whatnot, that's not what humans are. And you're trying to control way too much, way past beyond human nature. We're not made to be these like perfect economic units that do everything perfectly like robots. Like we have drives, we have desires, we have feelings, emotions. We don't want to, we have intuition, like we have values. We want to be able to kind of, feel those and experience those and not have to worry about if we're doing everything absolutely crystal clear computer perfect.
honestly, I believe that too. When you try to do it too perfect, like I think you like make your performance worse. You know, like, and the thing is, you have to understand, you're not going to show up as the same person every single day.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be more effective on Sundays, less effective on others. There's times when I go train where I kill everybody. There's times where I just suck. You know, like, look at a easy example, like a basketball player. Somebody can come out and drop 60 points one night, and next night only drop 20. It's like, what happened? It's like that one day they had that performance in them. And so your life is kind of like that, where it's like, I may read a little less enthusiastically today than I did yesterday. Right. But I did it. I still showed up. Mm-hmm. You know, but expecting myself to feel the same about everything that I do all the time is unrealistic. I'm going to feel different about things that I do all the time. Sometimes I'm not going to want to do them.
Yeah. I mean, that's just the way things are.
That's honestly just the way things are, you know? So
trying to fighting against that is a surefire, immediate path to just burn that out. Burn out your whole desire to do anything.
100%. And then with the efficiency stuff, it's like, it also matters like what kind of person you are. Like some people are robotic, where like it has to be hyper organized, right? Yeah. Me, it's weird. I think in an irrational way, but I behave irrationally. So like for me, like I have a list of things that I want to do every morning. Like I want to mobilize, I want to have my egg shake, I want to work out a little bit, I want to read, I want to write. What order those things are going to happen in, I don't know. I'm going to get up, I'm going to pick one. Maybe I wake up and my body feels loose, so I go right into writing. And my mind is like going, I'm going to go right into writing. Maybe I wake up and like my neck feels tight or my hips feel tight. Okay, for the next 30 minutes, like I'm not reading, I'm not doing anything. I'm just releasing the pressure in my body. Yeah. You know, I have a list of things that can get done and a time block, and I free flow, me personally. Some people need to be like, oh, at 8 a.m. to 8:30 a.m., I'm doing this. That don't work for me.
And I think one of the key things is that somebody listening to this is probably going to be like, oh, shit, Lobo does that. I need to do that. No,
that's not how it works.
The thing is, you got to take the principle. You got to take the principle of what we're saying right here, right? You need to make a routine that works for you. You need to have a system that works for you, and you need to follow that system. But that system should not be a direct copy of anybody else's. You need to have your own. It needs to flow perfectly with you. It needs to be individualized.
Like when I tell everybody train everything, what I mean is like I'm an experimenter. I don't 100% take anybody's advice. Like when I learn something from someone, like I usually don't even do it exactly the way they tell me to do it. Sometimes I do it a little bit different. Sometimes I do it exact way. But like I don't handicap myself to their rigid structures.
Right.
When I'm trying to do something. Like if I tell you to mobilize every day, right? And I'm not going to tell you what to mobilize every day. Because I don't know your body.
There's not a prescription.
Your ankles might be tight or your shoulders might be tight. I don't have shoulder issues. So I don't really mess with my shoulders too much, right? Like, but your shoulders might be messed up. So it's like, what do you want me to, I can't tell you the exact answers. I can just give you like a model. And if you actually wanted to be like me, the best thing you could do is stop listening to other people. I really don't, because that's one of the things that makes me who I am, is that I take everybody's information in and then I relay it against my own perspective on life. I don't really.
There's systems, there's goals, and there's models in terms of ways of thinking. And I tilt towards, like my buddy Alexander Cortez, he tilts towards models. Like everything he does is based around a model of like, I'm going to train every day, mobilize, blah, blah, blah. But I know some people that are very goal-oriented, where they're like, every day I need to do this many pages of writing, I need to do this many pages of reading, and this must happen. And in a year's end, I'm going to look like this regardless. This will happen. It's a lot more outcome dependent versus outcome independent, where it's like models, where it's more about the process. It's more about like the principle behind it.
Yeah, I like to it's all about reverse engineering to me. That's everything has to line up with something bigger.
Definitely.
That's all it is for me. And basically this is what all my actions are based off this. The fact that I went into my brain, I designed my perfect life. I figured out everything about it, where I live, what I look like, who's around me, what I do every day. And then my daily process now is trying to recreate that and become that person. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I'm doing, I'm judging it off that master vision for my life. Is this moving me closer to that person or further away?
That's very key. That's very key. You want to have that clear vision, because if you don't, then your whole life you're gonna have this like existential anxiety of whether or not you're moving closer or farther away from where you really want to be.
Now, if you want to tip on how to get your vision, now what I did personally is I read a book called The Master Key System. And the Master Key System is basically where they stole the secret from. But even though the Master Key System, all the information, this esoteric information has been around for a long time, it just matters how it's organized. But the way the Master Key System is organized, a book by Dr. Charles Hannell, the way it's organized is it's, I think, 25 different meditation exercises that you do for a week each. And it scales up. So the first week is literally just practicing being completely still and completely silent and not moving.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Then the second week is doing that same thing, but holding nothing in your mind. And then as you get forward to the program, they start getting you to imagine things. Until they get to a point where it's like, okay, they teach you how to imagine a future version of yourself. Like, put yourself in your future house, sitting in the living room. Like, what is the decorations on the wall? What kind of table do you have? What is the fragrance in the air? And just trying to get you basically creating this vision. And they teach you how to tie all of your senses into it. And what happens when you do this is kind of crazy, is you almost transport yourself to that place and become that person for a moment. And I feel like when you come back into your normal state, you bring a little bit of that with you.
Changing dimensions.
Right. You're changing dimensions. You're tapping, because one thing I do when I go to the state, I'm like, how do I feel when I figured everything out? When I've got the life of my dreams, like, how do I feel about that?
Yeah.
What does that
That's something you can pull back. That is something you can definitely pull back.
Yeah. Like, what does that do to my posture? What does that do to my energy? How do I sit? Like, how does, so I really get I try to really deeply envision and embody it. And then I feel like you bring some of it back with you, and it allows you to, all right, I know what I'm working towards. Okay.
Yeah.
You can touch it. But you should do this with everything. You can do this. You should do this with everything for, I've manifested crazy things in my life that just don't even make any sense. But you have to actually go out there and like pick things. Like, if you want a house, there's a house that you like, go to the house and touch the house and sit in front of the house. Like, I'm serious. Like, my life, I literally, right? Like, I knew nothing about Miami. I knew nothing about training, anything. I was in my room in New York, and I was reading a book that told me that to be successful, I need to meet other successful people, right? And so I had been to Miami before, and there's a city I like, which is Brickell, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, okay, I started coming up with all these ways. Like, I'm like, how do I meet successful people? I'm brainstorming. And like, the number one thing I came up with was a luxury gym. I was like, okay, all right, there's probably hyper successful people at a luxury gym. So I go and I Google, right? Luxury gyms, right, in Miami. And this gym pops up, Equinox or whatever. And I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go be a personal trainer at Equinox, right? No training experience in my life. I moved down to Miami. I'm living in my car. A girl that I know from LA hooks me up with a guy who's a trainer at a Miami Equinox, because I need to be able to have a place to take showers. So she introduced me to this guy who's from California who lives here, ends up becoming one of my best friends. I meet him. He gets me a job at Equinox. So I go from being in my room, right? And then I'm all the way down in Miami in this spot. And then on top of that, they end up opening one in the exact city that I wanted to be in, and I end up transferring to that one. And it's kind of crazy. Even little things like this, right? So when I first moved down here, I was looking at penthouses. And there's this one really nice penthouse at 10 Museum Park, it's called. It's sick. It's a 3-story penthouse. There's a pool on the roof, right? I used to look at this thing every day in New York, like 7 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. I come down to Miami. I figure out the Equinox thing. I get a job. One day, someone introduces me to a lady that wants to be a new client of mine, right? Mm-hmm. But she wants me to train her at home. So I'm like, okay. So The lady sends me the address. And I go to her crib, and guess what? I'm standing in the same exact crib I've been looking at for years.
Wow.
And she's a client of mine. You see what I'm saying? So like things that you can't fucking explain, I'm just like, whoa. Like it makes me think like, all right, maybe you're not consciously trying to manifest things enough. Maybe your visions aren't big enough. Maybe you're not dreaming hard enough and staying focused on what you need to do. Because it's crazy that I would be lying to you if I said I even took the best direct path to these things. I messed up a lot along the way.
Sure, 100%.
Screwed up, like did things wrong that I knew I shouldn't have done, like had so many issues, and I still ended up in the same exact spot that I thought I'd be in.
That's ridiculous.
You know,
that's like unexplainable level things.
It's unexplainable. My best friend, my business partner, who's the person that made me hyper like financially successful, right?
Yeah.
I'm in the gym, I'm training, I got a full clients, right? I make good connections, but no one's putting money in my hand, right? Yeah. I'm sitting in a room one day, like an assessment room at like 9 p.m. at night. Gym's empty pretty much. Guy walks in there, just sits down next to me, goes, hey, tells me his name, shakes my hand. He's like, hey, I want you to train me. He's like, and we're going to become best friends and we're going to make a lot of money together. And then and that's exactly what happened. And it's crazy. It doesn't make any sense. Because like, I knew I was like, all right, if I go to this place, I'm going to meet someone. And through a backwards channel, I get up in the place and then I end up meeting the person. Somehow it's just like, it blows my mind sometimes when I think about it, but it also makes me be like, okay, what's your next dream? What's your next vision? What do you want to do next?
Did you, when you first started the visualization stuff, did you see your, like the actual skill of the visualization? Did you see that improve? Like was the actual imagery in your mind getting clearer, brighter, more vivid as you did this?
But it's like any muscle where if you don't use it, you lose it. And there was actually an interesting little like meme or something out there where it's got like an apple and like different levels of definition.
Yeah.
Like from the first level being like just an outline, the second level being cartoonish, third one being like a graphic design, fourth one being like a real apple, right? But before you see the picture, what they tell you to do is imagine an apple in your head, right? And
yeah, I've seen
when you look at the picture, it'll tell you like that's what you'll see the apple that you saw, whether it was maybe you only saw the outline, maybe you saw the one that had the different shadings and the red and green colors and the stem and the leaf. Maybe you saw that one, and that would give you an idea. That's an example of how your visualization powers can be different. I'm sure there's some people that have naturally good visualization powers, like artists probably. Like I know a girl, she's an interior designer. She can walk into a room and see an empty room and know exactly how everything's going to look.
Yeah. Like when I'm making my films, that's how I have to go. Like I kind of write down a vague script and then I just like picture everything in my head. And I'm just like, all right, let's go shoot this directly. Let's transfer this directly from my mind. Let's put it onto film.
Actually, you know what's crazy? A lot of people won't realize this because I think you had to be born at a certain time. But before there were cell phones and stuff like that, I used to use my mind a lot more to envision things, and I think everybody else did. I remember at night, every single night as a kid, I used to literally replay my entire day in my head. You know, and I used to also imagine my next days. And I noticed that, like, as we picked up technology and stuff, I don't do that anymore. It's kind of interesting.
But yeah, I mean, it's such a new advancement.
Or like, it's like, all right, this is what I was trying to say. It's weird that now you have to consciously do something that I think people were doing normally.
Definitely.
I think for the most of life, like everything's been about imagination. I mean, think about it. Like we watch TV now, but people used to just sit in front of the radio.
Right. Have to imagine what was happening.
And have to imagine what was happening. You know, listening to novels and things like that. So, books, you have to understand, books were low-key movies at some point. Because they're taking you to another place. And it's like when you really work on that visualization. And see, the thing is now, we don't have to imagine anything anymore. It's all shown to us.
It's all given to us.
It's all given to us.
I could definitely see how that could weaken the muscle.
Dude, absolutely. Like, you should be able to come up with crystal clear pictures in your mind.
Right.
Should be easy. So yeah, it's
Luckily, I get to work with being a videographer and whatnot. I get to work with a lot of visual things, and so even when I'm not working, like when I'm like thinking about the project, I'm still like visualizing the shots and whatnot. So I get to use it just unconsciously throughout the day. But I'm imagining someone who like
going.
yeah.
Okay, all right, cool.
We'll just add another segment. I'll just do a jump cut.
Okay, what were you talking about? I lost it for a second.
Oh,
but yeah, we're talking about visualization. Yeah.
Yeah, I was saying how, fuck, I lost my train of thought too. Like I'm a videographer.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I'm a videographer, and like even when I'm not working, I still like I'm dealing with that. I'm dealing with the images in my mind still. So like even when I'm not in front of the computer, I'm still thinking of the shots and transitions and whatnot. I'm thinking how I can do that. But I'm imagining someone who is born with a phone, right? Are consuming Instagram, Facebook all the time, and they don't have any outlook that requires them to be to visualize and use their imagination. Like how much damage that can happen. That's
got to do extreme damage. You know, like my entertainment as a kid was imagination, pretending. You know, like so. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. It's like, and I think we still do it in little ways, right? Mm-hmm. But the whole point is that this is something that should be done consciously, and the power of it is something that we don't even fully understand. And it's not some like woo esoteric shit. It's just like, man, if you can only see one thing and only think of one thing, what do you think's gonna happen?
Yeah. Your goal eventually is gonna happen.
It's just gonna happen.
Somehow. You know? Nobody knows how exactly, but
nobody knows how. Yeah. It can happen by accident.
It happens.
It happens by accident in the least likely form you can expect. And that's what I've always learned too. Like sometimes the people that are going to help you in life are not the ones you expect always.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes just some random person that you could have never imagined. You know, and that's actually what I like about life is it's full of surprises.
It definitely is.
You can have a concrete plan, full proof, and everything can just go a complete different direction and still work out in your favor.
That reminds me of a quote where when a human makes a plan, God laughs, or something along those lines. Or it's like, oh yeah, you think this is gonna happen this way? Oh yeah, try it out, see what happens.
You know, so I just I'm open at this point. It's like, okay, whatever happens, I'm just gonna deal with it, adapt to it, and then I just keep moving in the same direction. I might have to veer to the left, to the right, whatever. As long as I know that. See, and this is the thing, right? You have to have a true belief in who you are and what you do. Once I reverse engineered my life and I said, okay, if I do these 7-8 things every single day, I'm going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
I had decided that no matter what happens, as long as I keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to win. Because I narrowed my actions down to something so powerful and concrete that's like, if I just do these things over and over and over and over and over, I can't lose. So that's what I rely on when things are down or something bad happens. It's like, man, no, I'm not going to change what I'm doing. And at the end of the day, if I just stay on this path, I'm going to win.
If you're going forward and upward, you can't lose in the long run. If you're consistently going forward and upward,
you can't. It's just it's too difficult. It's impossible, you know, unless something just catastrophic or unseen happens, which I don't even allow those kind of thoughts to enter my head. You know, I have to say it sometimes as like a kind of disclaimer, but in reality, I don't even think that way.
Yeah.
You tend to not even acknowledge the negative.
Did you have a point where you were just like, fuck, I refuse to have negative thoughts anymore? Or was it just kind of natural from your experiences?
It's been a little natural, but I use different people's examples. Like I have to constantly remind yourself of certain things. Like I have a list of things that I remind myself of. Right. One of them is that my grandmother, who's obviously Black, raised 5 kids, you know, by herself in a world with no internet. She didn't have a car. She was broke, discriminated against, all this stuff. Walking, using buses, like a difficult life. Right. And so like I relay it against my own life. And I'm like, all right, like, are you really gonna let your grandmother be mentally tougher than you?
Are you
Like,
really gonna let that happen?
are you really gonna let that happen? Like your grandma, like, okay, she doesn't do like she's not fighting people or whatever, but it's like, I mean, her situation sucked. So it's definitely worse than yours is right now. So what are you tripping about?
You
You know,
really
and
when you put that into perspective, you all of your issues go away.
right, and it's kind of, it sounds like it's a lazy thing to do, like, oh, there's starving kids in Ethiopia. But no, I'm not saying that. I'm like, I literally make things personal. Like I look at people in my life, or I even look at things that I've been through before. Like my number one reminder too, another thing on my list is like, no matter how scared you were, no matter how dire things were, how bleak they look, you've never died. So everything that ever happened shouldn't have fucking bothered you that much.
If you still have two legs, you can still breathe, you're still fine, you can keep going forward.
This is my dad used to tell me, hey, when I used to leave me home alone, don't call me unless you're about to lose life, limb, or eyesight. That's it. You're not about to lose life, limb, or eyesight, you're all right. If it's a problem that time or money can solve, it's not a problem. If time or money can't solve it, you got an issue.
That's very key. That's
You know,
very
so
key right there.
For me,
Do you think that like I obviously I see this, like the culture just the current U.S. culture, it's so self-centered, it's so narcissistic when it comes to problems and whatnot. Everything else is somebody else's problem. The whole, outsourcing of grief. Like, do you think that just has cascading effects on the psyche after a long period of time?
Yeah, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose. I'm pretty sure because there's nothing to tie. There's no sense of like. There's no one thing we can like tie a sense of nationalism into right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like not even like it used to be the flag and stuff like that. But even people don't even like the national anthem anymore. So it's like we don't have anything to rally behind as a country or as a people because we're all very different.
Right.
Okay, that's number one. Number two, this victim mentality and the problem with Americans is there's the problem with Americans, I say, is not enough of them been punched in the face. So they don't know that bad things can happen. Like they see bad things happening, and I guess they think there are bad things happening, but they haven't seen real bad things happening yet. Like they don't get physical. They don't feel physical consequences for this stuff. Everything is a mental torture to them.
Yeah.
They don't know. They don't understand physical pain. But so my thing is like, look, no empire lasts forever. We had like 400 years. It's been a great run. But at some point, the problem with Americans is they think the struggle for world domination is over. It never ends.
Never ends.
Never ends. You think China doesn't want to be a superpower? You don't think Russia wants to be the America of the world? China wants. Everybody wants to be a superpower, and it doesn't take a lot. For the most part, in history, what has changed history is disease, advances in technology, or some new resources, and money and power. Yeah. Like what if India came up with some sort of epic? I'm not saying they're going to, but what if they came up with some sort of new renewable resource that nobody knows about, some sort of new technology? It could catapult them. It could happen anywhere. China. What if China masters genetic engineering and start making 200 IQ people that are 6'5" and don't die for 150 years? What are you gonna do?
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do? And so Russia and China are gonna keep going. I don't want to get too much into like global stuff, but like I just want to finish my point that like the thing is with America, when every time we cry about something simple, I imagine like Putin and all these guys just chuckling. Like people want to elect a female president or like a gay president or something. Look, at least these guys respect Trump. They think he'll do some crazy shit.
Yeah.
If once you elect some sort of whoever is coming next, some sort of super left-leaning person or whatever, that they're probably going to push up, like China and Russia are going to see that as a sign of weakness. They don't have these same SJW values that Americans have. No, they don't see a woman as a sign of strength. They don't see that.
That's the thing. Our values may be this, Y, Z, blah, 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 but China China, Russia, they don't give a fuck.
They don't
They don't
care.
give a fuck at all. They do not care about any social issue. They're actively pushing that on us to weaken us so then they can come in and take our shit.
Right. Like I heard some Chinese company bought Grindr.
They do not care.
Like, they don't care, bro. They don't allow gay sex, but they'll perpetuate it here. So
exactly.
Like, you got to understand. And so like I get worried because it's like all these things that you think are progressive, real warrior type men, look at that as weakness. And the thing is most of us live pretty comfortable lives. Like there's Chinese dudes, Russian dudes, Iranian dudes and stuff like that that are not living. Like the most basic person in the U.S. ain't gonna starve to death. Like you could be homeless. Even homeless people don't starve to death.
Yeah.
You know, like and that's actually crazy because most of our fears are rooted in dying. It's like you can't actually. It's hard to die from failure in this country.
Yeah, I mean,
so like
China, you got people dying in the streets. Here, even if you're homeless, you're fine. Like the
if
level
you
of
live in San Francisco, you can go steal.
Yeah.
You know, so like
Yeah.
America, it's like I'm worried because we don't have anything that can bind us together.
Yeah.
Right, and then on top of that, it's like as soon as they push as soon as they push some hyper leftists in, that escalates all this. Like the other countries are going to look at that and be like, okay, it's game time. So, yeah, I am not. Well, the thing is though, it's weird because what we think is America isn't America either.
No, I was reading about this recently.
America isn't Los Angeles, New York City, and Miami. It's not these big blue cities. It's all that area in between. And Trump knew that, and that's how he won, right? I know that. I knew he was going to win because I was in the military. So in the military, it's poor blacks, poor Hispanics, and poor whites.
Right.
And I understood that the people who were lower class whites, they were worried. They understood classism, and they didn't actually feel much different than us.
That's the
thing.
I was
like, okay. There's these regular people that they kind of feel like minorities too, but they're not.
That's the thing. They push all this racism propaganda, but the real thing is the classism.
It's really classism.
They don't want the classes to come together. They want, if they can keep the classes divided and keep the races divided, then they can just do whatever they want. But if the classes can unite, you know, if all the poor people can be like, hey, like we're all suffering the same shit, doesn't matter our skin color. And then too, I think they're programming us with the Americans that they show us. Because like again, like who do you think gets online and starts talking on the internet more? Like some freaking barista chick in New York City or some dude that works in a field in Ohio? Yeah.
A lot of the Americans aren't putting their opinions on the internet like that.
Yeah.
I was one of them. I prefer to not have social media or not be on social media at all. But I saw such things deteriorating in such a way and moving in such a wrong direction that I was like, well, I'm going to at least put my voice out to fight against it.
Yeah.
In some way. Because like, I can't just sit back because now it's like, it's all right. This bothers me. Because
you've helped a lot of people. And the thing is too, is that you don't need to help loads of people to make a massive change.
Dude, I'm just now starting to understand the ramifications of all of this. Like, people can be like, oh, it's just Twitter, it's just social media. And like, social media is like social media, right? Like, I get it. But like at the end of the day, bro, like, first of all, I didn't have men teach me the things that I'm teaching. And I meet a lot of young men and a lot of men my age too that didn't have any men teaching them anything. Like, there's such a confusion in the young men in today's world because the last generations of men or whatever, I think they were just focused on survival or whatever, but they weren't red pilling us. They weren't woke. They weren't aware. Right. But the thing is like, I get messages from dudes 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, 16, 25, you know, and they're like, oh my God, like I'm shifting to see the world in your way and things like that. And it's like, okay, cool. I impacted that person. Guess what? That person's going to have a family one day.
Mm-hmm. That person's got friends. That person has family right now.
They're going to relay this to the next generation. Because at the end of the day, the only thing that actually survives is knowledge. Mm-hmm. And knowledge is passed on two ways, through teaching and information and through DNA.
Epigenetics, right.
Right. So like, I'm giving that knowledge and it's like, man, okay, if I tell all these hundreds of people how I will raise my family and how I'm going to raise my kids and things like that, and they modeled after me. I just changed a whole entire generation's belief.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like I'm just starting to understand like the impact of all of this.
And I realized too, I was talking to one of my buddies over DMs, and the point he stressed is that it only takes one person to move like 100,000 people. One person to move 100,000. So if that one person can network with like a couple thousand people that are doing the same thing as him, they can take over the entire country easily.
Yeah, and like I like some of the things one of the things I like about the internet and like Twitter and everything is that people are so different, but they're on the same kind of frequency.
Mm-hmm.
Like
big time.
Our direct tactics for how we interact with the world might be slightly different, but like pretty much our goals and our ideologies are the same. And I feel like it's really cool how we're desensitizing people to being emotional and getting offended about things. You know, I think that's massively beneficial for the world. That's why I think there's a huge value in people that just troll or make memes and things like that. Because humor relays things better than like anything else, to be honest.
Oh, dude, 100%. 100%. You can relay so many hard truths, but if you put it behind a fool's mask, that's why the fool archetype is so important. If you can relay the hard truths, but sprinkle it with comedy, it's way more acceptable across a wider domain.
And yeah, this is what I see happening. So I love that. The only hope for turning this thing around is to ideologically influence a lot of people on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you can do meetups and stuff, and it's wise to meet up. Like me personally, like my end game goal is to do something of a cross between Captain Fantastic and Wild Wild Country, but without like all the sex cults and women making decisions and homeless people and poisoning and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, but basically me and like some friends and some alpha males like going and getting thousands of acres of land and start building compounds, just raising our kids in the mountains. You know,
that's what I'm hearing more and more and more and more. Like all these people want just compounds with friends and family. That's it. Right.
We start our own neighborhoods.
Yeah, we don't want what's given to us.
I think that's the next step. And then also, and see, I noticed a lot of the programming they put into women was working on me. For a while, I was 100% certain I didn't want kids. I was completely convinced I didn't want kids. You know, I was convinced that like, oh, why would I want to do that? Why would I be hampered with a kid? Now I understand. It's like, man, I need to have like 10 kids. Like now I'm like going the opposite direction. You know, it's like, and I think this is a part of the trick of like globalism is like they convince all the smart people that kids are a bad financial decision.
Yeah.
And poor people pumping out the kids, and they're, you know, and
kids are cheap
if you do it right. Well, it depends on how you do it, right? Like because what they do is they put out false information. They tell you that like, oh, if you have a kid, it's $150,000 to $200,000 investment from the time they're born to the time they enter high school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And it's like, well, okay, that's if your kid's a consumer. You know what I mean? Like people have consumption already ready for their kids, because I feel like a lot of people don't even raise their kids anymore because you have a permanent babysitter in the internet.
Yeah.
Right. All you got to do is slap a phone in their hand and they're good.
You have your consumption. You have the consumption. You got the daycare. You got the, you know, there's a lot of things that are not essential, but we make essential.
We make them essential. They don't have to be, you know. So, and it's just because our lives are so out of sync. And so I don't want my kids at 4 years old to be sitting down at a desk having some dweeb normie pound ideas into their head about what the world is and how everything works.
No way.
I don't want that at all. I don't know if I'm gonna homeschool my kids. I might homeschool my kids till like high school, and then if I have boys, I'm putting them in all boys schools, because I really believe that men and women should be learning together. I think it's a massive distraction for men. I know because I went to public school and then I went to all boys military school, and
there's a balance between trying to get the socialization down and then also keeping people focused. Because if you're teenage, like, you're gonna be horny, like, you can't just suppress that. And if there's girls around, like, you're gonna waste your time.
Yeah, dude, I remember being in math class and like seeing girls in front of me like their thongs sticking out and stuff. Like I couldn't concentrate. Like in high school, all I used to do was the day before school, look at the yearbook and try to figure out which girls I want to talk to today.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's what I was doing. And everything is about. See, when you have women around, it changes everything because now we're worried about what clothes we're wearing and who we're hanging out with and all these social ladder games, right? When you're in a all boy male school, it ain't like that. It's just like the toughest kids run shit, right? And you be cool with them or you're not. And it's more of a red pill environment. It's actually really interesting. So people be like, oh, if you go to an all boys school, you're not gonna handle girls. Actually, I didn't start getting girls until I went to an all boys school at all. Like those kids are the ones. That's how I got one of the reasons I got so red pilled is grow up in all male environments will red pill you a little bit.
Well, you won't be you'll be more of a man, which will attract
you'll be more of a man. You'll be less of a complainer. Like you honor and integrity will have to mean something to you. Like people respecting you will have to mean something to you. And we actually end up getting more girls because when you go to a regular school, right, you just know the girls in your school district. But when you're at a private school, everybody's from a different school district. So each of us knew girls from other places. So we ended up getting
everyone would go
more
to
girls
different
than
parties, different groups. Yeah, I could see that.
You know, and so like, and it's like when it was time for school week, it was school week, and on the weekends, that's when we go have fun. So I think I would do something like that. But yeah, it's like now I'm realizing that the power of this online, we aren't gonna. The problem with us, you can't have some sort of revolution or whatever because the military is not on your side and the police aren't on your side, right? That's the problem. Is that like if guys like us did take up arms, like try to rise up or something, the military would suppress us because the guys in the military aren't woke like that.
Yeah.
Like that's the truth. So if we wanted to win this battle, we have to keep ideologically influencing as many people to our side as we can.
It's a game of persuasion.
It is. At this point, that's what it is. It's not going to be like raiding towns to town and conquering and enlisting people in your army. It's not going to be. It's going to be a
game. It's going to be a game of media. It's going to be a game of persuasion, infiltration, long-term mental manipulation.
And I feel like some of these people, like there's so many men right now that are putting out content that are like right on the edge of coming to our side that would make a massive difference. Like say like a Jocko or Joe Rogan. They're like right flirting the line, right? Like right there. But the thing is like the way these lefties and stuff work, it's like they're going to end up pushing these people over the edge because of how they cover everything that they do and how they talk about them. Like I remember the other day, Rogan was trending because he gave a half-hearted endorsement to Trump. Like he basically just said, I don't have any else to vote for. I wouldn't vote for Biden, so I would have to vote for Trump. And then he gets trending on Twitter as like a Trump supporter and all this. It's like when you do something like that to somebody that tries to play the middle, eventually you might push that guy over the edge.
Oh, dude, we definitely might see right-wing Joe Rogan in the next couple of years.
You know,
because
so like
he was like he said too. This was like 3 months ago, and this is parallel. He's like, yeah, I'm gonna move out of L.A. There's just too much traffic, and I'm like,
That's the first step right there. That'll change you.
He's like, yeah, I want to go to like the mountains in like Colorado. I'm like,
Yep. He's
like,
getting closer.
what is he getting at? So, yeah, like I just, and another thing too, along this line, I saw this, there's a Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, and he's a doctor, and he like put on scrubs, and he's like, I'm healthy from I recovered from my coronavirus. I'm all good. I'm going to go to this hospital and help out people instead of, like while this thing's happening, I'm going to donate my time. And then some dude in the comment below was just like, fuck you, asshole. And I just read that and I was just dumbfounded. Like how someone can just have a reaction like that to
and this is like why these people are going to lose. This is why they're going to lose. This will be the way that they lose. Is that it's only like I'm noticing even now that like normal people are starting to get fed up with all the bullshit.
I think what's going to happen is like they currently have the institutional power, but what's going to happen is they're going to overstep it. That's my thinking. And they're already doing it.
They're doing it. Like this whole situation could go badly for them.
Yeah.
People being inside with nothing to do but think. You know, like that's probably not a good situation for them. They need people out there being mindless.
Yeah.
So like it's interesting because I see hope, but I also don't see. I see how we could. I see hope because I don't see any other option besides being hopeful. You know, but I also see how the dire situation we're in and how much trouble we could put. Yeah, it's like a dichotomy right now where it's like, man, it's pretty bleak, but I really don't have any other option but to try to do something. You know, but again, like the internet has such reverberating consequences to it that
they did not know what they were getting into when they gave us the internet.
Yeah,
they're like, haha, we're gonna track everyone, and they're like, oh shit, people are actually like they're spreading propaganda themselves. Oh fuck.
Yeah, and the thing is, we're better at it. I don't know why that is. But for some reason, people who are more like red pilled and right wingish, I guess, are just way better at putting ideas and content and information out. maybe they're smarter.
Well, I think intelligence is one thing to do. I think too, like if you're bounded to an institution like that, then you're triple thinking what you're saying. You're not putting out your truth.
That's true. And then like these people don't really have any personality or character.
Yeah, their
personality is an ideology. That's their personality.
Yeah, it's a hive mind. You know? And honestly too, like some red pill can be hive mind. Like that's what I've noticed too. Yeah,
there are some that are hive minded. I mean I can see it, but I also see a lot of individuality, and that's what I was talking about earlier. It's like we might believe in the same things, but we communicate differently. I think that's pretty cool.
Oh, definitely. Being able to. It's funny. It's called like the most racist, xenophobic corner of the internet, but we're talking with like everybody. Everybody.
Somebody tried to call me a Nazi yesterday. I was just like, dude, like this is
and you're like black.
This is physically impossible, right? I was like, dude, this is not actually possible, and that's how you know that like all these terms are bullshit. Because I definitely have people that follow me that people would be like, he's a white nationalist or something, and I'm like, well, obviously he's not racist. You know what I mean? Because why would he follow me or talk to me? You know, it's pretty hilarious. Honestly.
I want to see the logical case for how somebody can be an Adolf Hitler supporter and be black. I want to see that. I want to see that connected.
Well, it's like the thing is, right? You don't have to agree with everything someone does or says to understand them.
Right. Definitely.
Right? Like, all right, this is a crazy story. I don't know if this might upset people, right? But I was at dinner at my friend's house and his kids were around, right? And we were talking about the Weimar Republic, right? Which is the situation that led to the Nazis rising to power, right? And we were trying to figure out why would the Holocaust happen, right? And so I asked a question. I'm like, okay, I don't use any specific terms or anything like that, right? I'm like, what would you do if you lived in a country, right? And it's not like this country where everybody's different. It's like everybody around you, there's a sense of nationalism, sense of history. Like you're all the same people, right? What if a minority group moved into your country, used you losing a war to take political control? What if they used that political control to punish your people? What if they took your cultures and traditions and broke them down and perversed them and degenerated them? And the little kid at the table goes, kill them all. And I was like, do you see? Like, it's not always as simple as you think it is, right? And it's like, it's not always that simple. It's like sometimes you don't have to agree with things to understand how things could happen.
No, like
to understand people's perspectives. And
like clearly what happened, right? Clearly what happened was lots of people died, was not good. Like it was a very evil act. But you can see the logic of how that led to that act. Easily.
Right. It's easy for you to see how it happened. It's not difficult. Like if you had any idea of what nationalism is or feeling good about being from a country, which Americans don't, and somebody came in and started destroying your country, this will be a logical reaction throughout all of history for any country or tribe or anything. It's what anybody would have done for the most part throughout history. So like,
definitely,
it's kind of ridiculous. And then it's like, obviously they paint everything a certain way because so many people died in the war that it's like, but we don't talk about it. We only talk about one people that died. We don't talk about stuff like the bombing of Dresden, where like tens of thousands, maybe 100,000 people got melted alive that didn't have anything to do with anything. We don't talk about the U.S. being the only country to drop nukes and that we did it twice.
Right. Talk about the occupation of France, civilians getting mowed down, getting blown up by both sides' artillery.
We don't talk about the gulags.
Nope.
Come on, man.
It's very selective, and
it's very selective.
You have to give equal light to all of them, because you need to explain the full depth, because what you're doing by just focusing on one like that is you're building a binary dynamic that humans can only be bad in this one way, but multiple paths can lead to this darkness easily.
Everybody, and at the end of the day, everybody thinks they're doing the right thing.
Right.
No one actually thinks they're doing anything bad, for the most part. If they can justify it, it's the right thing to do.
Rationalization is a drug.
So like, I just wish people understand that like, even now, like, especially all these people these days, right? It's like everything's about peace and love and morality and no violence. It's like, dude, every single law that you think like holds up like this moral fiber of society is backed by violence. If you don't obey our laws, we will come get you. We will throw you in prison. If you resist arrest, we will kill you.
Yeah.
There's a
violent underpinning to the world.
100%. It has to be this way. There's no other way. So when people are like, all these people that think they're the most peaceful people in the world, it's like, dude, it's like everything that you believe in violence to an extent, you just don't understand it. Like violence maintains everything. War maintains everything. Like all these people that, it's actually interesting to me, like all these lefties that like live in all these cities where all these big businesses and all these franchises. It's like, you do realize that actually it's kind of crazy. It's actually a really crazy phenomenon that like our society exists because of the warring and things that America does around the world and takes from people.
Mm-hmm.
But the people who experience America the most, like what is the concept of America, are the people in the cities, like the blue areas.
Yeah.
Like the people who benefit off the punishment that America puts on the world are the people that live in cities.
People that want to stop it. It's people
that want to stop it. It's like, you guys are the ones that are the consumers. You guys are the ones that keep these big businesses afloat.
Mm-hmm.
These big businesses are the ones that do all the dirty dealings. So you come in and you claim all this peace and all this stuff, but you can't let go of your materialism. Yeah. So it doesn't align because you're a culprit. You're a part of it.
I think
don't see it.
I think killing mass consumerism is going to be, I think if that goal is accomplished, so many things get better.
Well, the only problem is that like killing consumerism might kill our country. Because
it would have to be a result of a change.
America takes on debt under the premise that you're going to work to have things.
Right.
And your kids are going to want to have things. They take on debt under the premise that we're going to convince our citizens that they need this car before they can afford it. They need this house before they can afford it. They need an education, blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm. So they keep pumping money.
This is why America is a consumer economy, because they're in debt. And the only way to pay that debt off is to have people working and buying things.
Mm-hmm. So until it gets switched back to gold standard.
Until everything collapses, consumerism is going to be, materialism is going to be huge. It has to be. It has to be. We don't produce anything.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's why the whole, I saw a graph where it's like percentage of the economy that was manufacturing. It went from like 65 to 17% over the past like 50 years.
Yeah, that's crazy. And this is where I see the arguments against capitalism, right? Where people are like, okay, Nike could make their shoes for $50 in America and still sell them for $150, but they'd rather make them for $5 in China and sell them for $150.
Right.
And that's how things got backed up, because there's no cap on anything, which you don't want there to be, but it's weird and it's hard. I don't think anybody really knows the answers to all these questions.
Well, there's the school of thought. It's like, do you want low wages but cheaper goods, or do you want higher wages but more expensive goods? Right. You can't have both. And like the more and more I think about it, like definitely want higher wages, even if the goods are more expensive, because I don't need that much. I don't need to buy much. Like, I'd rather just save more and invest more.
Everything I
But
buy is metal or paper, for the
yeah.
most part, or fabric. And everything else is just whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I buy weights, I buy books, I buy food supplements, and occasionally clothes.
Yeah. Sometimes, I mean, when you get jacked, you know,
Yeah, you got to. I'm
you gotta
not
get it.
about to. I'm
You gotta
starting to
get that
experiment with
medium
looser
T.
clothing.
You gotta get that medium T and show off your traps.
Now that this is something I did want to talk about, and they
Yeah.
talk about this in Bronze Age a lot.
Yeah.
I'm determined now to start showing off my body. I didn't realize that over the years I've actually been fit shamed. Like, you know, there's fat shaming. There's actual fit shaming where
Okay. I see. I thought you said
people
fit.
make.
I thought you said fit chained, and I'm like,
Oh
chained?
no. fit
Okay, but
shamed.
Yeah.
So
got
like
it.
I've noticed over the years that I actually became slightly insecure about being in shape. Because every time I'm anywhere, someone's like, "Oh, like is your shirt tight enough?" Or like every time I'm on a boat, someone's like, "Oh, what? Can't wait to take your shirt off, can you?"
And you got it. That's where the yes mentality comes in.
You know?
Yes.
And I'm like, now I'm attacking back. Fuck that. I'm walking down the street every day with my shirt off. I don't care. Fuck you guys. If you're not in shape, that's on you. I'm gonna mock the fuck out of you. If your girlfriend looks at me, that's on you. If I go on a boat and someone says, put your shirt on, I'm gonna say take yours off.
I mean, you're in Miami. Like, you got to.
I got to, you know, but it's crazy. But this is how I was actually thinking for years. It's just like people make you uncomfortable about being in shape. It's actually crazy. Like, look at this fucking guy drinking water. You know what I mean? Like, what the fuck, man? You know, so like,
motherfucker drinking water. What a pussy.
You know, so like now I'm like, okay, I'm counterattacking. I'm gonna short shorts, no shirt. I'm gonna make all you feel uncomfortable about yourselves until you do something. And we need every muscular, fit, jacked person doing this.
See that doesn't, like, when someone says that, when someone thinks about that, like, they don't like that idea because they don't like their body. But the second, like, if you just train for like 3 years, get your muscles, you know, get your physique on point, and then you do that, then it feels way more natural.
Yeah, it does. I think my problem is I was always in pretty good shape. So it was never a thing to me that I was in shape until people made it a thing.
And then you're like, what?
Well, I'm like, what? Like, it's an issue? Like, oh, I'm conceited now? I was like, I didn't know I was conceited for working out every day.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know?
I remember that tweet. It's like, if you come out ripped during quarantine, you're an asshole.
Right. Like, you know, like, what the fuck? You know, like, this is the mentality of people. It doesn't make any sense. So instead of and we're going to just go the exact opposite way. And we're going to show off our bodies. Because at the end of the day, like, that's what everybody's doing. Like, girls want to distract me by wearing skin tone yoga pants and stuff like that. Everybody's trying to fucking distract you and do their thing. Okay. All right. I'm fighting back.
Yeah, yoga pants literally are just nudity.
Dude, it was bad when they were just yoga pants, but once they start doing the skin tones and like the pastel colors, it gets even worse. It's like the worst thing in the world. Like, it sucks. I like walking around every day around here is difficult, bro. Like, it's difficult.
You're just like,
it's very hard. I have to actually, before I leave the house, make a conscious decision that I'm only looking straight ahead. Yeah, it's like when I leave the house, I'm like, all right, I'm either going to talk to girls or I'm talking to no one. I make a decision right before I leave because the way it is down here, it's just like there's so many hot girls that like you're just like your head's on a swivel. You know, it's like left and right.
Yeah, you just want to be staring.
But that puts you into some sort of beta state.
Now, in terms of diet, what is your philosophy with that?
So, my idea of diet, what you should probably do is you should probably take a look at what your blood type is and your genealogy. And there's something called a blood type diet, right? Some people swear by it, some people don't. I think it's a pretty legit diet. I would say it's legit because I feel really good when I'm on it, and because the foods that are listed for my type are actually things that I had a natural inclination for.
Mm-hmm.
So I would look at your blood type, and then I would look at where your family comes from, and see like the native foods of that area, and I'll combine that with your list of your blood type foods and eat that.
Like my dad he's Syrian and German, and my mom's Irish. So when it comes to like meats, it's like lamb and beef for me mostly, and then see like German. Like I haven't really dived into German cuisine that much. I do like sausage, but
Yeah,
um,
they say eat like your great grandparents. But what for meats? Okay, for meats, I have a thing now where I'm not eating any slave meat. I call it. So I haven't been eating slave meat. To me is like store bought meat. Like
right.
most of it's like really dirty. You can't really confirm where the animals come from.
Oh,
What
factory
kind of
farming.
conditions
Yeah,
they're
yeah,
in.
yeah.
Yeah, like can't confirm everything. So I don't eat slave meat anymore. I call it. I order most of my meat, or I have friends that are hunters, or I hunt. And right now, like the meat I eat the most is elk. I have a ton of elk. I eat deer a lot. I eat a lot of bison. I drink a lot of eggs. Yeah, I'm on the raw egg thing.
Right, nationalism.
Yeah, I put it in. I make a nice little shake though with mine. I don't just drink them straight up. I beef bacon is my bacon. I don't use regular bacon. I use beef bacon. What else for meats? Sometimes I eat ostrich, boar. I like if there's specialty meats. I'll try them.
Mm-hmm.
That's it for meats. I don't actually eat a lot of vegetables. I juice my vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
Like I'll make like a turmeric, orange, lemon, ginger or something, or kale, broccoli, cucumber, apple, something like that. Right? Like that's how I get my vegetables for the most part.
My girl got me into juice. It's such a good way to get it in.
Yeah, it's like I like hot food. So like salads are always boring as hell to me.
Yeah.
Because it's that like coldness or coolness that I don't like, and then I always got to put sauce on it and stuff to even like make it palatable.
And for me, like I'm lazy, and I like being able to cook everything and like right in front of me. I don't like having to like turn around and deal with 3 different things at once. So if I could just drink a juice with every vegetable I need for that day, and then like just cook my beef, throw some cheese on it, whatever.
It's so much easier.
That's key.
And then I even add collagen proteins to my juices.
Yeah.
So that I'm not just getting like nutrients. I'm actually getting some protein in. I use collagen protein. I think that's the only protein I'm using right now. Actually, I'm not using any whey.
I use some whey. Right. I'm trying to bulk up right now, and I use whey. There's this thing too. It's called. Have you ever heard of Huma Pro?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it's basically these like amino acid tablets. They're like size of like a normal like fish oil tablet, and each tablet contains 5 grams of protein.
Oh shit!
So I take 5 in the morning and I take 5 at night. It's like
I never heard of those.
It's like the equivalent of 5 grams of protein, which is kind of weird, but obviously all the reviews are good, and I've noticed that when I take it, my muscle tone gets better.
I think the only reason why I don't drink whey is because I end up eating after I work out every time. Like I just always eat afterwards.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I look at my post-workout as meal as like my post-workout. I eat fruits. I only eat berries. Really, I eat berries, blueberries. That's really it. I don't eat a lot, bro. I honestly, if I didn't have to eat, I wouldn't a lot of the time.
Yeah, me too.
Like it's just another thing that I have to do. You know what I mean? Like
that's how I look at it. I'm like, I just want to work, hang out, do things with people I want to do. Like eating to me is a waste of time.
Right. Like, and sometimes a lot of time I just eat because I'm supposed to. Like honestly, if I was just ate off my hunger, some days I wouldn't eat.
Yeah, honestly, I would. I would do
like barely eat. I wouldn't have a meal per se. You know.
I would do like 2 meals a day if I could, but I have to do like 6 right now, which is.
I have to because of when I was training and stuff. I haven't been eating as much during this quarantine. That's for sure. I've been drinking a couple shakes, eating a couple steaks. I have a ton of raw milk. I have like 8 gallons right now. I have buttermilk. I have organic raw kefir. What else do I have in here?
Is that how it's pronounced?
Kefir?
To me, I say kefir. I say kefir. I don't even know. I
don't know. I like kefir. Well, it's probably kefir.
I've been drinking kefir. I've been getting goat milk recently.
Have you? I haven't taken the jump to goat milk, but I have a lot of colostrum. So colostrum is it's like the first thing that comes out when the cow has a baby or whatever, and it's like super nutritious. It's better than milk.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's next level. I put a tweet out on it, but it's next level. It's like.
Do you get do you get like bottles of it?
Yeah, I order it all off the internet.
Okay.
Yeah, I order everything off the internet. I haven't been able to strike a deal with a local farmer, but I don't even want to actually because the grass from where I'm ordering from is better than the grass down here. So the cows are healthier.
Yeah. I mean, we have a nice butcher shop nearby. They have like everything.
Yeah, see, that's one benefit of cow. You can get everything out there. Like, you get elk easy. It's hard for me to get elk here.
I can actually, like, I'm in the one area where I can actually go to a store right now and get raw milk from the cooler.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I'm jealous. I wanted to, like, there's rules against, like, meats, I guess, like certain meats, because I had wanted to open a specialty butcher shop here, but we couldn't do it.
That's a side hustle.
Yeah, I was like, that'd be really cool. Like, what if we had an exotic meat butchery? You know, we don't have that here.
Ostrich, duck.
Ostrich, kangaroo, like crazy stuff, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's so many different, do you know Land Shark?
Yeah, dude.
Twitter?
Dude, Land Shark is one of my favorite accounts, by far.
Yeah, Land Shark's
He's one of my favorite accounts.
He's the homie, right? I think he's onto something with both exotic meats and testicular extractions of certain animals. Like, there's gotta be some powers that you can get from those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I really do believe that, like, if you eat like the heart of an elk or something, like it has some sort of power in it. I believe that as well. I believe that. Well, I mean,
people have always not to believe it. So
people have always believed that, like, whatever you eat increases the health of that particular body part. Like, if you eat eyes, your eyes get better. If you eat heart, your hearts get better. If you eat liver, your liver functions better. That's what people have always believed, you know. So I don't know. I can't confirm it. But
do you eat organ meats?
Yes, I eat organ meats. I eat a lot of marrow too. You need marrow. Marrow is very important. That's another thing that people don't eat at all. Dude, I could just suck marrow up all night, like, delicious.
Do you is it better to have marrow, or like if you had bone broth, would that do the same thing?
I think the marrow's better. I think the marrow's better because you're getting straight from the source.
Let's do this. If someone's listening to this right now and they have, like, you know, they have a little grocery budget and whatnot, and they're just looking to, like, start getting, like, more esoteric health info instead of just, like, chicken and rice with broccoli. Like, what would be a little, like, meal plan that you would make for someone? And, like, say you know, disregard the blood type thing for now. Just, like, want to get something right now.
First, I would probably tell them to go on intermittent fasting. It depends. If they want to be the healthiest, look. The thing is you really don't need to eat that much unless you're trying to get big. Yeah. If you want to be jacked, you're gonna have to eat a lot, right? But the healthiest diet for you to be on isn't that diet.
Right.
Like, the healthiest diet is like intermittent fasting, like 16 hours in between. I do the 8-16, so I eat for an 8-hour window. If you want to just do something easy, I would say egg shakes are great. They're cheap, and they taste good. So you just put like 4 to 6 eggs in a cup, put some pineapple juice, orange juice, a couple mangoes, some collagen, some cream or milk or kefir or whatever you have. Do that, and then just stick to steaks. You don't really need much else. Like, seriously, steak and eggs. You want something easy to eat that you don't have to worry about anything else? Stick to steak and eggs. That's the easiest thing to eat in the world. And steaks are easy to cook, or easier to cook than chicken too, which is great.
I would do that, and then I would get some green juice just to, like, just get your vegetables in. You know,
get some green juice. I have my green juice. The only other thing I have is acai bowls, but I make mine a little different, where I blend my acai with avocado. I know some people hate avocado or whatever. I don't buy that.
Yeah. That's an idea.
No, so I blend my acai with avocado and blueberry, so it comes out like a super thick paste. It's like almost like yogurt.
And avocado, like, people think like, oh, avocado, but like avocado doesn't have much flavor.
No, it doesn't taste like anything. It doesn't taste like anything. So I'll put some like I'll put a packet of acai, so a handful of blueberries, an avocado, a whole avocado, blend it up, top it with blueberries, some grain-free granola. Oh, I'll throw some collagen in there, some cream, and that's it. It's a super power-packed meal, and it's really good. Tastes really good too. So that, yeah, outside of that, like steak, eggs, a couple juices, and some berries, like you really don't need a lot else. But if you want to be big,
health advice, yeah.
If you want to be big and you want to get jacked, it's a completely different story. Where it's like you got to eat a certain amount of meals a day, et cetera, et cetera. But if you just want it to be actual optimal health, you would just do this. And I think that like the truth is like because there's a rift in people who want to get huge and people who just want to be in shape. I side with the in shape people more. They're functional. And the reason I do that is because I've always had the mantra of train for strength and size will come, or train for strength and shape will come, right? Mm-hmm. So I've always just focused on being as strong as I could. And I always noticed growing up, like, or working out, that I was always stronger than all the dudes that were bodybuilders and bigger than me.
Yeah.
Like, I go into the gym and there's dudes that have 40, 50 pounds on me, and I'm crushing them by 100 pounds on exercises. Right. So for me, it's that always just kind of been like, okay, so I can eat a bunch of meals a day, do a bunch of hypertrophy, and then not even just look strong, not actually be strong.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I was like, I never got into it.
It must be kind of hard now, considering that you can't go to the gym. So you're just like, I'll have to do with volume.
Yeah, it doesn't even bother me right now, but yeah, so I don't even I always side with doing whatever makes you the most functional human. Because if you're 250 pounds, like, everybody's going to shit on running. But, bro, if you can't run for, like, 30 miles straight, like, you kind of soy. You know what I mean? If you can't swim 5 miles, like, the 2/3 of the planet is water, bro. Like, what if you fell off a boat? You would die.
Yeah.
Big Jack guy, die.
Yeah, it's honestly, you know getting into like 300-pound Dorian Yates territory, like that's like a luxury, dude.
Yeah,
that's not accessible.
That's a business. That's a career choice.
Yeah.
You know,
it's opulence in the form of the physicality.
Yeah, it's just like the girls getting fake ass and all this stuff. It's like too much. Like there's got to be a point where you're just like, this isn't beneficial to me anymore. And like, trust me, I love strongman competitors. But again, they have a purpose. They're strong.
Yeah, and they're on steroids.
Right? And they're on steroids, right? But they're strong as hell. They're lifting something. But for me, I'm just like, okay, getting jacked, right? I'm stronger than most of these jacked dudes already. Like getting huge. Then I'm fitter. Like I can do more functional exercises. And then it doesn't increase my ability to fight. So.
And you're already aesthetic. So you don't even have like that.
That's what I'm saying. So. Get aesthetic. Because actually, girls don't see anything but like abs, shoulders, and like traps. Yeah. In your arms. You know, like they don't really pay attention unless you got a nice glutes. They'll pay attention to that.
Yeah.
But you know, you can get extremely aesthetic without getting huge.
They do not care about the turtle shell wide lat.
Yeah, like they don't care about your lat spread, bro. Like they like lats, but they're not looking at that.
Yeah.
You know, so people that are like going, you don't need to be the most aesthetic person in the world. Like usually just a 6-pack will get you girls, to be honest.
Do you think that this is the last question, and then I need to start wrapping things up here? Do you think that starting with like a martial art or like a sport or something like an actual skill-based activity is better than starting with pure weights? Or would you recommend, like, if somebody had to choose between like a skill and calisthenics or just a gym, what would you guide them to?
That's a tough one. If you were young, right, like not a man, I would say focus on Actually, I would say do a martial art and something when you're young, and focus on lifting when you get older. If you are a person that's never been in shape in your life, like you might want to think about just getting in really good shape first.
Yeah.
But there are a lot of people that start. Half the people in my jiu-jitsu and martial arts academies, like they start to lose weight. So people do join martial arts to lose weight. I think if you've never been in the gym journey though, of like just getting yourself in shape and lifting, like that is a process that every man needs to go through.
I mean, and you see some. I mean, this is obviously an outlier, but there's some UFC fighters that you look at, and you're like, just not in shape at all. And then you see them in the ring, like, holy fuck, this guy can move.
Yeah, it can move. So it's like, if you've never gone through the gym process of building your deadlift, building your squat, overhead press, learning clean, stuff like that, I think you should get into the gym probably first if you've never been in any shape of your life. If you're already in decent shape or whatever, then I think combat. Because at some point, and this is for all my gym bros out there, at some point you gotta learn how to fight, man. All that being in shape, it's cool, it's aesthetic, like it'll get you girls, it's political protest, boom, boom. I understand all the benefits, but at the end of the day, like fighting is more important.
Yeah, some small guy can just run up and hit you in the face, and there's nothing you can do about it.
So many of them. There's so many guys that don't look like shit that'll put work on you. So, and the thing is, it's crazy. I talk about this all the time. The crazy thing the UFC taught us, when you first watch the UFC, you're thinking like, oh, the biggest, strongest jack guy's gonna win. Nuh-uh. The UFC taught us is not like that at all. It's like the guy with endurance and mobility. Like the things that we say are soy, like stretching and like running long distance, like the people with lungs and the people that are mobile are like the best ones.
Yeah.
Like the Diaz brothers, for instance. Dude, if all the Diaz brothers fights were 5-round fights, their records would be completely different.
Yeah.
Because you can't get them out of there in 3 rounds. You might outpoint them, outstrike them. But in the 5th round, if these fights were 6 rounds, 7 rounds, them dudes would be putting people away. Why? Because they don't get tired.
Yeah, like you look at Nate Diaz and you're like, dude, that guy's not in shape at all. Look at his like kyphosis and all this shit. And then you see him in the ring and he's just like fucking 5 rounds in, choking you out, going like perfectly fine, face completely bloodied, not winded in the slightest. Just
now,
like,
this is one caveat though, right? Because what we have to understand is just because he was able to be successful like that doesn't mean that you can.
Right.
And it also means that, because I'll get this like sometimes, like I'll talk about the shoe pill, and the people be like, well, LeBron's feet are messed up, and they are, and I've messaged his trainer about him, and he blocked me over it. Yeah. So they
LeBron's feet are fucked up, man. You got to change it.
Dude, I told him because I know the people that taught him stuff, and I was like, bro, like, what are you doing? But he's got to deal with Nike, so he doesn't care, right? But it's like the same thing. It's like, oh, well, he's a great athlete without messing with feet. It's like, yeah, but what if his feet were better? There's potential in all these people that they're not even using still. You know what I mean?
There's that guy Zion Williams.
Yeah, Zion
Williamson. And his like I saw a post on this where somebody broke down how he runs, and his gait is super fucked up. Like
they had to rebuild.
Yeah, his legs way out. His foot's like touching the ground at a jacked angle. His back foot like doesn't even touch the ground. It's whack. But he's so good. Funny story. Yeah.
Funny story, because like my little brother had bad feet problems, and his favorite athlete was Zion. Right, and so I told him a couple years ago, because I showed him pictures of him in his knee and ankle alignment, and I was like, look, dude, this guy's gonna have knee problems because he's doing the same thing you do. Boom, boom, boom. And now that he's got him, my brother fixed this shit because he did, and he's actually, the articles have come out, like he's had to learn how to relearn how to walk again. Like I don't think people understand a lot of so when I get on the shoe pill, it's real. Like a lot of the athletes, the ACLs and MCL injuries, these knee injuries aren't normal. They're not supposed to happen.
No.
What happens is the force isn't transferring properly from the feet up the leg because of how they're planting their foot on the ground or the base of support on their feet. It could be a lot of things. Like Derrick Rose, for instance. Everybody's like wonders why Derrick Rose got hurt. Well, the person who taught me everything taught his trainer everything. And the problem with Derrick Rose is Derrick Rose's feet were too tight and his ankles were too tight. So he didn't have any dorsiflexion, and he does a lot of jump cuts. So when he used to jump and plant, the force couldn't properly transfer up from the ankles through the knees to the hips. So they would just go right into the knee and get trapped and boom, blow the ligaments out.
Right.
And it's all because he didn't have bad knees. He had tight ankles.
Right. Yeah, so, the whole body's connected.
Yeah, like actually the whole thing, I don't believe in knee problems. I don't believe in them. Like unless you have something degenerative.
Or you actually get hit in the knee.
Yeah, or you actually get hit in the knee. Like the knee in like higher fitness circles is known as the dumbest joint in the body. It literally just does whatever the foot or hip tell it to do. So when someone blows out their ACL, it's not because of their knee, it's because of how their foot planted.
Mm-hmm.
So your knee, if you got knee problems, it's something with how you're walking or how your hips are tight or something like that. It's not your knee. Your knee is just receives signals. It doesn't give any. It doesn't do anything except it's like an elbow. It's the same thing. That's all it can do. Just go back and forth.
I just imagine all the athletes that I imagine just you spam DMing their coaches, fix your foot, blah blah blah, and they're just blocking them, and then all the athletes just destroying their knees over a period of time. I'll do
you one better. My friend, one of my best friends, the guy who got me a job at Equinox, he trains professional athletes. So when he fixes them, like in the NFL season before, we go and start betting on them.
So he's like, yeah, this guy's gate's kind of fucked up right here. He might blow this out.
He's fixed a lot of people. I'm not going to name drop people, but he's fixed a lot of athletes that people would know, and their performances have increased. It's kind of crazy.
I did some video work. There's a guy that was on the Dolphins. He was a wide receiver for the Dolphins. He has his own gym. There's a training thing here, and he's working with this guy on the Cincinnati Bengals. And I did like a video for him. It's on my website if you guys want to check it out. But basically the whole thing with him was that he got put out for a bad shoulder injury earlier in the year, and then he came to the guy that I shot with to really heal it up again. And a lot of the rehab that I watched, it wasn't even shoulder based. It was fundamental
T-spine, maybe.
Yeah, spinal work, how he was standing, neck position, and then just very light movements pushing. A lot of it was like that. It was crazy.
See, this is real training. This is why I don't train people online or give away programs.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't matter. The movements, you can download that anywhere. You get workout programs on bodybuilding.com. Don't get it twisted. Having someone observe you is extremely important process of training. I could tell you right now, do a push-up, and you know what a push-up is, right? Mm-hmm. But my push-ups might be different than yours.
Right.
In terms of how I want you to do it, or where I want you to pull your navel to your spine. You know what I mean? How I want you to rotate your hands into the ground. Little things that you can't do. When I train people, I was training people, right? I had to teach everybody how to walk again. That used to be the first couple weeks of people's training. Doing a bunch of farmers barefoot, trying to figure out, get them how to transfer weight correctly.
Yeah.
Teaching them how to get up and off the ground, little stuff, rebuilding their body completely. So
that transfers cross domain. I mean, when I'm doing video, I tell people you can make videos in your home. You can just set up your iPhone on a tripod and do it that way. But if you want to make them look good, you have to do a lot of stuff. You have to get lighting. You have to get all these things that you're not thinking about consciously, or you can just outsource it to someone like me, right? So, a lot of these people, they just think that, oh, I just set up a camera and I just can make a video and everything will be fine. Or in your training clients will probably be like, oh, I just need to learn how to lift weights and it's easy and I'll get strong and jacked. But they don't think of the fundamentals behind, okay, what's everything I need to do that? What do I need to change? Do I know how to even talk to a camera in the first place?
Exactly. Are you looking in the right place?
Yeah.
Are you the right distance from it? You don't know. There's so much unknown. So yeah, that's one reason why I don't give away programs online. It's just because honestly, unless I could observe you, I would just end up copying and pasting some stuff and sending it to you. And you'd be like, oh my God, this is great. And I'd be like, yeah, bro, it's the shit. So
you just go on bodybuilding.com, copy and paste the program. Yeah, bro, I made this specially for you.
Yeah, dude, just for you. And then even then, it's when I used to train people, the first thing I did was movement screens. I assessed them in all those positions I was talking about: pushing, pulling, rotating, crawling, squatting, lunging. I had to test all of that before I can even come up with a program for you. Right. If you can't maintain foot stability, I'm not going to have you lunging.
Nice.
Little stuff.
Things have to build on each other. That's what I've learned too. Every part of the body's connected, and an ankle, right? Ankle misalignment, ankle tightness can destroy your entire athletic career.
Everything. Yeah, everything. Can destroy everything. Steph Curry wouldn't be a thing if he didn't get his feet fixed. He was about to be out the league in a couple years with ankle issues. You can look it up. Golden State freaking who's the team? Milwaukee. Milwaukee called them for a trade, and Golden State gave them the pick of Monte Ellis or Steph Curry. They were going to trade this dude, and they picked Monte Ellis because he was better at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this dude his career was about to be derailed, but he went to some high-speed doctor out there, a physical therapist, and they fixed his feet, and then boom, you saw what happened.
Beautiful. Yeah, I mean, listen to this. Fix your feet.
Yeah, fix your feet. Don't worry, shoe pill thread is coming.
Shoe pill thread. We'll be looking forward to it. Well, not Logo. I did a podcast with Logo Dangerous the other time. Lobo, this is a great conversation. A lot of valuable info for the people listening to this. Do you have anything you'd like to end with? Any links to stuff and whatnot?
I just said that, this is fun. Whatever you're doing right now, like, try to get some sort of, I know you guys are stuck at home or whatever, try to get some sort of routine going and some sort of consistency. And just try to stay as high-spirited as you can.
There we go. All right. Lobo, it's been an honor talking with you. And I hope you all enjoyed listening to this episode of the Arthaus podcast, and we'll catch you guys later.
Later.